the maternal father of the Pokémon world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 426 Duel. Just when Eminem put down Nazi, who had become smaller again, a high-pitched cry suddenly came from the sky. At the same time, a violent air current swept through. All the surrounding windows were shattered, and the building was washed by the strong wind. Eminem and the smaller Nazi were caught off guard, and they also stumbled a step. Their clothes were fluttering. Eminem, who had been indoors, discovered that the sky outside was no longer pitch black, but was filled with thunder and lightning. It was like a doomsday scene, and it didn't look like natural weather. Immediately afterwards, Eminem and Nazi heard a loud noise coming from upstairs, which seemed to be the sound of a building collapsing. To be precise, the ceiling was lifted. I'll go up and have a look. Hoodie, keep an eye on her. Amu thought for a moment and handed Nazi to Hoodie. Nazi's telekinesis was completely shut down at this time, and her Pokémon became normal. Originally, when she resonated with the Pokémon's spiritual power, that was when she was strongest, both for herself and for her super type Pokémon. However, when she is in a bad state, like she has just fallen into a trance, if she maintains mental resonance, the Pokémon will also be greatly affected. But now, Nazi no longer maintains mental resonance, and the Pokémon has only returned to normal strength, at least not affected by her mental state. Natsu is considered young among the ordinary kings, so her accumulation of Pokémon is not enough. Although there must be normal kings, and she can even touch the sides of the big kings, but in the non-resonant state, but not top-notch. Only Hoodie is different. Natsu's Hoodie is her teacher and friend, not a Pokémon trained by her. It is very strong in its own right. Nazi was also very confused about herself becoming smaller again. She could only assume that it was a side effect of mental overdraft. Previously, when she was restrained by the psychic suppression handcuffs, she was forced to overdraw her mental power and reverse growth. As a result, her mental power and body were severely damaged. Now she can't say what happened. But this time it was Nazi who grabbed Eminem, who was about to go up to check. Eminem turned his head and glanced at Nazi, who held out his little hand in confusion. What's wrong? If that guy comes again, you have to ask who to bring you up. Since Sakaki and the others are up there, that guy will definitely not dare to come. Eminem thought she was afraid. Boss, Sakaki and the others are all up there. What are you doing up there? Sakaki is so powerful, you can't help him. Nazi used Eminem's logic just now to stop him. I'll go up and take a look. Don't worry, the great heavenly king can't hurt me either. Amu reassured. Why? Don't you worry, I'm not worried about you. Nazi's round face turned to the side. After she became smaller, I don't know why, but Eminem always feels that when her body becomes smaller, Nazi seems to be able to cope better. But now was not the time to think too much. Eminem immediately ran to the top floor. As soon as I came up, I discovered that it had indeed become open air. And after the open air, one could clearly see that the lightning in the sky was now faintly transformed into the outline of a huge bird-like silhouette. Is this the real lightning bird? Amu couldn't help but be surprised. Being able to control the power of heaven and earth, isn't this something only true divine beasts, that is, divine beasts with partial divine power, can do? Although I don't know whether it is the divine power brought by the divine position or the divine position, it must be a real divine beast, right? Is Mazishi so proud, otherwise, or unfirst? Just when Eminem was struggling, Leoka's voice came from his heart. It's not a divine beast. I was given a descendant of a divine beast. Leoka was able to see what Amu was seeing and judge that the other party was not a real divine beast, but just a descendant of the divine beast. However, this descendant was given limited power by its parents, so it could control the weather. After hearing this, Eminem felt relieved. At the same time, under the glare of Sakaki, Aji, and other gym owners, Mazishi released all 5 Pokémon. Yes, it was 5, and the last position was given to Lightning Bird. At the same time, Mazishi stretched out his arms and hugged the sky and shouted, "Lightning Bird, show your power." Upbraid boom. After A sharp cry, a dull roar came out. The thunderclouds that had been silent before were now roaring wantonly. Originally, the thunder and lightning just rolled in the thunderclouds and did not fall, but from now on, countless thunder pillars were seen coming down. At the same time, heavy rain fell like a leak from the sky. The flying Pokémon quickly fell back, and the sky was completely blocked. In this weather, Pokémon with lightning rod would not dare to fly in this heavy rain. The power of water is very strong. Not only has the effect of rainy day, but even has some water effect unless one has awakened the ground attribute above level 2 or awakened the lightning rod above level 2. There is no way to ignore the power of lightning in this heavy rain. Zishi, are you crazy? Lightning bird, and it can control the weather. Is this Akin's lightning bird? Zishi, stop the lightning bird quickly. Otherwise, no matter how far you go, you will be dead. Damn it. Contact Arjun. What is that bastard doing? No signal at all. At this time, everyone also understood what Zishi had done. And by the way, they cursed the Gold Hall Master half to death in their hearts. Some people have already guessed that, in order to refine life-extending potions for his own electric Pokémon, the owner of the Gold Hall previously offered a bounty for electric-type materials, but he didn't know where he found them later. Now I think it was probably Zishi who traded them to him of Sakaki. Fight with me alone. Even if I die, the lightning bad will leave. Otherwise, you will all be buried with me today. Zishi shouted in the heavy rain point. Only when Zishi is defeated head on will he willingly tell the lightning bird to stop point. Otherwise, even if Zishi dies, the lightning bird will only capsize the ship faster. This is his real preparation for the duel. Otherwise, he, an electric trainer, would give a shit against Sakaki if Arju wanted to say something at this time, but was stopped by Sakaki. Under normal circumstances, Sakaki, Shiba, and Aju would all swarm forward, as long as the opponent was not a divine beast with a true divine status or vocation. Even a divine beast with divine status would not have no chance of winning point. But now, the lightning bird is in the air, using its borrowed divine power to create the current heavy rain weather. It is difficult to fly up and get close. Sakaki responded and said, then let me see what gives you confidence. He then held onto the keystone on his needle, Gyarados, and Marsupial. The three instantly mega evolved, and there were also Nidoking and Nidoqueen on both sides of Sakaki. They were still the ones Eminem had seen before the noob point. Maybe for the sake of fairness, Sakaki also only used 5 Pokémon at this time. Chapter 427 Heaven. Under advantageous circumstances, Zishi reluctantly started a fierce fight with Sakaki point at this time. Arju struggled to look up in the heavy rain and said at the same time, we also have to think of a way. Otherwise, if we want to rely on aquatic Pokémon to rescue, we won't be able to do it in this weather. Is it just a shipwreck, or is it just a heavy casualty? If the ship sank in this environment, it would really be a heavy casualty. Shiva didn't speak at this time. As one of the 4 heavenly kings, he should be the strongest here besides Sakaki, but he is a fighting type. He can't go to heaven. This lightning bird must be the one following Ajin. That's right. Damn Arjun, he actually made such a deal. We must first find a way to communicate with it so that it knows what it is doing. And what does this mean to Ajin? Other gym leaders are also thinking of ways, but even the gym leaders of the flying gym don't dare to actually fly up at this time point. Otherwise, Pokémon above the king level may be able to withstand it, but trainers will definitely not be able to withstand it, and even Shiba, who is the most resistant to beatings, will not be able to withstand it. Point after hearing this, Eminem probably understood what was going on, so he took the initiative and said, how about I go up and try? Everyone looked back at this moment and saw that Eminem, who had just ran up, ignored the energetic young man and continued to discuss the matter. Are you going up? How do you go up there? If I sit on my bird, I'm afraid of getting blood all over me. Wait, there seems to be something in the sea. At this time, a museum owner discovered that there seemed to be something under the sea. The size was a bit unsettling. Point at this time, Eminem continued to ask, what should we do if the persuasion fails? And if a fight breaks out soon, the rain may be heavier. Is that okay? At This time, Arju looked at Eminem seriously in the heavy rain and then said, how are you going to persuade the lightning bird? If you don't listen to the advice, you can consider shooting it down, or at least disperse the thunderclouds. Slim Shady? What are you talking about? Amudu is still not sure whether he can defeat the lightning bad with the weak tench swarm. Why is Arju so close to being shot down? Immediately, Eminem realized that it was probably a senior member of the Rockets who had some guesses about the giant dragon. After all, Eminem had already tricked the Dark Organization several times with half-truths and half-truths, especially during the time at the job and Twin Towers. Leixi even helped out. The Rockets, and even the Quartz Alliance, are not without speculation, but they have not asked Eminem to confirm it. This can be regarded as an old custom. There is often such a mysterious and secretive relationship between mythical beasts and humans. Generally speaking, even if the Alliance has some guesses, they will not get to the bottom of it. Although Leocat is not a mythical beast, he is obviously treated like a mythical beast. It's unlikely. If there really is a fight, it would be nice to lure some away. Eminem shook his head quickly. Arju couldn't help but frown. This is much weaker than expected. Okay, it's better than doing nothing. I'll leave it to you. The top priority is to communicate with it. Arju emphasized. Zibber also looked over at this time, but the muscular man was not good at words and did not speak. The others, half of them didn't understand what Arju was talking about, and the other half went to look at the sea. Eminem nodded after hearing this, then ran directly to the corner of the collapsed house and jumped out. Wait, you can't fly. A Jamona on the side was about to remind him, even if there are flying Pokémon at this time, they can't fly. However, at this moment, the sea surface suddenly rose in the direction where Eminem jumped, and then a giant thing dehydrated and flew directly up, catching Eminem. At first glance, this giant thing looks exactly like the outline of a whale, but its two fins are surprisingly huge, somewhat like Kaiga. A water Jamona asked in shock. No, it shouldn't be. This is, there's more. 2, 3, 4, 6. What kind of Pokémon is this? Did that young man call it just now? It's a weak tench. Weak tench. Are you not awake yet? Could this be? Amidst the bursts of exclamations, a total of 6 giant things were seen around the ship, dehydrated, swinging their wings, swinging their fins, and swimming into the sky. As we all know, Kaiga can fly. Normally, even a shell of 1,000 weak tench, because the individuals are too small and dense, is only 8 or 9 meters long. However, the size of Amu's 10,000 at this time directly reached 20 meters in length, and the size was quite solid. Of course, everyone here has never seen the real Kaiga directly, and there are no actual photos. Judging from some legends, it is definitely more than the 4 or 5 meters in the game, and it should even be larger than the current fish school version. 6 giant beasts soared into the sky. In the past few days, Eminem has only collected a total of 7.5 weak tench schools. 10,000. Now Eminem has left some behind. Because once a fight actually breaks out, some individuals of the weak tench group will be defeated directly. At this time, it needs to be supplemented, not to mention the ordinary people on the deck. Even the owners on the ceiling were shocked when they saw this scene. A school of tench. How many tench are this? At least 3,000, right? I can't stop watching, but I remember that there was a watertight paper that said that when there are more than 1,000, they will disperse easily. Who is he? I haven't heard of any new talents in the water system in the past few years. The semi-finals of this year's rookie competition, but at that time he was biased towards grass and ground types. When was he trained? Have these weak tenches been following the Santino? Or was he also subdued during the voyage of the Santino? I don't think I have conquered. At the same time, Eminem was also taken high into the sky under the cover of 6 groups of weak tench. Although the weak tench schools will also be struck by lightning, and the higher they fly, the denser they become. But this heavy rain not only increases the lightning element, but also increases the water element. This lightning strike only weakens the water power of the weak tench group that makes up the group body. It has not reached the level of defeating the weak tench individuals inside. Moreover, after the water power that makes up the group body is weakened, it will be able to spin in this high water energy. Make up for it. As for Eminem, with the protection of Leixi, you will not be injured. No matter whether it is a lightning strike from the weather or a real attack from the lightning bird, it cannot penetrate Leixi's light wall. After flying up, Amu finally squinted his eyes amidst the lightning and thunder, and saw the true form of the lightning bird. The huge thunderlight formed an outline, which should be formed by the power of the lightning divine power. Not its true form. I saw a small figure fluttering in the thundercloud. Chapter 428 Communication. From negotiation to confrontation. Is it Eminem? That is Eminem, right? Yuanzi saw the huge flying figure at this moment, and quickly pointed at the first one, and shouted point. When Eminem jumped down, and was caught just now, he happened to be here. Yuanzi and Xiaolan were working with Xiaoxia to maintain the order of the rescue. They should have activated water Pokémon as much as possible to gradually pick up the passengers, but now due to the heavy rain, the rescue work has come to a standstill. People can only go back to take shelter from the rain. Although people in this world are very forbidden to toss, they can't help but toss under this abnormal and supernatural thunderstorm. The only good news is, miraculously there were still some lifeboats left on the ship. It is true that all the cabins of the 2 lifeboats were blown up, but not long before the explosion, Xiao's Pikachu met an electric flying squirrel. When the 2 mice were playing together, the electric flying squirrel was attacked by an electric flying squirrel. Cat Boss was frightened and flew to the cabin below the deck, and Pikachu also chased after him. In order to find Pikachu and the electric flying squirrel, Xiaozi and the 3 happened to come to the rescue cabin. In order to avoid being taught a lesson along the way, they deliberately avoided the crew. At this time, Chakra just started to invade the Senshianu AI, and the monitoring was no longer functioning properly. In the rescue cabin on the right side, Xiaozi and the others found Pikachu and the electric flying squirrel they were playing with, and discovered a bomb. Hahaha, how could it be a bomb? Just as Xiaozi said this, the bomb in the rescue cabin on the other side had already exploded. So the 3 people quickly dragged out a batch of compressed lifeboats. Just when they were hesitating to take another trip, the rescue capsule on the right side also exploded. Fortunately, part of the lifeboat they took out has now been inflated with the help of flying Pokémon, which has relieved some of the rescue pressure. But in the current weather, it is impossible for the lifeboat to come out. Just when the ordinary passengers on the boat were panicking again, 6 weak tench schools flying into the sky undoubtedly gave them a shot in the arm. It is more than 20 meters long, and has a wingspan of almost more than 20 meters. Even if it flies hundreds of meters high, everyone can still see it. At the same time, Eminem also discovered the lightning bird. When he was below, he could only see the outline of a huge thunder, but the true body of the lightning bird could not be seen clearly. Although this lightning bird is larger than the data in the game, according to Eminem's visual inspection, it only has a wingspan of 2 to 3 meters. But the texture of the feathers is obviously sharper, constantly flashing with electric light, and even has a metallic feel. Unlike in the game, it looks like the feathers have exploded. Eminem quickly stretched out a hand, his palm facing the lightning bird. Lightning bird, can you hear me? What are you doing? There is a boat down there. Can we go to other places for rain? Eminem feels that it is better to be polite before fighting. After all, Eminem is not sure whether 6 groups of weak tench with a combat power of about 200,000 people can deal with the lightning bird's humanity. What are these? Stay away from me. Lightning bird also noticed these big guys and replied very irritably. And as he spoke, he flapped his wings, and a bolt of lightning struck down. But the target was not the weak tench group that Eminem was in, but another weak tench group. Suddenly, the fish school was sparsely reduced in number, and hundreds of weak tench fainted and fell back to the sea. If it were not for the rules of this world, it is suspected that it has been transformed by the mythical beast. It is very friendly to humans and Pokémon, especially the fainting after losing battle is a great protection. I'm afraid that it will fall to death. Fortunately, there are weak tench schools below for protection, otherwise the fainting tench might be eaten in a daze. We can stay away. How about going over there? Eminem still did not give up persuading point after all. If there is a fight, Eminem's side may not have an advantage. Don't look at hundreds of them being eliminated at one time, but this seems to be just a casual blow. More importantly, the number of fish schools has decreased, and the weak tench schools have the strength will also decrease. If we really fight, the number of personnel will only become more serious. Of course not. Mom, I want it to rain here. Lightning Bird said very persistently. Did Masashi ask you to do this? If this continues, the humans on the ship will suffer heavy casualties. Eminem reasoned with it very seriously. Point, I don't care. I don't care. This is my last thing. Lightning Bird ignored Eminem's dissuasion. Point, are you going to die? What disease? I have medicine. Eminem was astonished, and like the protagonist of a Miracle Doctor novel, he showed off his magical rejuvenation. Point, Lightning Bird. This is the last thing, I promise you. Dog humans. Lightning Bird corrected angrily. Point, well, it turns out it's not the last thing you do before your death. You promised to the owner of the gold hall, right? Eminem confirmed to her. Point, no. Go away, asshole. Lightning Bird said very angrily. Point, but Eminem still heard that Lightning Bird was venting her dissatisfaction. It seemed she was also very dissatisfied with Akin's trait of the last thing. That Masashi is not a good thing. Do not know. Lightning Bird said directly. She didn't care about Masashi at all. She just did one thing for him, and for this, she even consumed the last thunder feather given to her by her mother. As for causing human casualties, this is what you humans want me to do. What the hell does it have to do with me? In terms of understanding things, we cannot expect Pokémon, especially Pokémon that have not lived in human society for a long time, to have the same brain circuits as humans. Eminem feels that, although he doesn't know how old this Lightning Bird is, but, at least among Lightning Birds, he must be a naughty kid, and he's also a bit arrogant. You must hate the owner of the gold hall very much, right? If this continues, he will definitely be responsible for this incident. If there are many casualties, he will probably be sent to guard in a dangerous zone for the rest of his life, and will never be able to return to human society. The prerequisite is that his Pokémon is willing to go with him. Otherwise, sure enough, when Eminem said this, Lightning Bird suddenly became furious. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Isn't it troublesome for you stinky humans? It was obviously that Huang Morang. What happened to Ajin? Even if Huang Mao asked you to do it, it was just the master of suffering. Ahem. It was Arjun who asked you to listen to Huang Mao. Eminem emphasized this logic point. Although it seemed to be just a deal, Arjun should at least have thought that Masashi must be using the Lightning Bird to do dangerous things, and the matter has not been reported to the Alliance. If he is held accountable by the League afterwards, he will definitely not be able to escape. Point, it's all your humans' fault. So annoying, so annoying. Lightning Bird said, and started to attack even more violently. Point, Eminem even wondered if this guy was manic. This emotion is too unstable, but if we really want to fight, Eminem can't be a coward. Regardless of whether she wins or not, she must at least lure the Lightning Bird away. This thundercloud was not created by her own power, and it doesn't look large in area, but it is very violent. Ah, you not done yet? Use water cannon. Although the people below couldn't see the Lightning Bird's body clearly, they also discovered that 6 weak tench schools were fighting with the Lightning Bird. I saw a huge water cannon sweeping across the air at this time. Although it seemed a bit straightforward and easy to dodge, it was unable to stop 6 of them from joining forces to block the path. At the same time, the thunder in the sky became more violent. Chapter 429 Battle. Use water cannon. Seeing that it didn't make sense, Eminem had no choice but to take action. Point, I saw only 3 Kagas composed of weak tench schools. At this time, they rolled up in the air, and while tumbling, the position of the air holes on their backs was aimed at the Lightning Bird, and then sprayed out a huge flow of water. The angles were intertwined. The Lightning Bird avoided 2, but could not avoid the 3rd. However, the Lightning Bird didn't give in. Faced with a water cannon blasting over, it flapped its wings and swept it away with a lightning strike. I saw the lightning strike colliding with the monstrous water column, and 2 of them exploded in the middle, but not all of them were cancelled out. Part of the lightning, when in contact, followed the water column, and climbed towards the weak tench group. Lightning flashed from the tench group, and hundreds of fainted tench suddenly fell down. That's it? That's it? While provoking, the lightning bird avoided the weak tench group who wanted to fight in close combat, flew directly to the top of Eminem's head, and waved its wings to trigger the thunder in the thundercloud to strike down. Eminem also deliberately used a flaw to withstand the attack of lightning bird against Leoka's light wall. At the same time, the other two weak tench groups that had not used water cannons just now were firing at it again. No, it was crossfire. I saw Eminem being hit by the lightning bad without any damage, while the lightning bad was hit by a water cannon and rolled twice in the air before regaining stability. Damn it, damn it, damn it. The lightning bird couldn't help but get angry when he saw that Amu actually blocked his thunder and lightning point. But Eminem's expression also changed at this time, because if it is stronger, it will penetrate hemp. Leoka's consciousness came out. Slim Shady. Eminem understood what Leoka meant. If it were a stronger attack, it would almost not be able to completely neutralize it, but it would at least numb Eminem. Eminem is not sure what the extent of this numbness is. Anyway, after hearing it, Eminem felt a little numb. The reason why he is so wild is because Eminem thinks he will not get hurt, and just now, lightning bird hasn't used its skills yet. Its skills were consumed in the previous wave confrontation with water cannon. In other words, at the level of lightning bird, it is possible to break defense with skills. This lightning bird isn't that strong, right? Just a descendant of an ordinary mythical beast, right? Eminem immediately expressed his dissatisfaction with Leoka. Are you okay? Judging from the effect of the battle between lightning bird and weak tench group, the opponent should be only the most basic divine beast, and should have no godhead. In Eminem's impression, Leoka is much stronger than this light wall. Leoka conveyed his meaning concisely and concisely. That's right. After all, what Leoka set up for Eminem was not an absolute defense, but a wall of light that weakened the damage hits. Just because the previous opponents were too weak, that's why they behaved like not breaking the defense at all. Leoka only used the word hemp, which shows that it can still offset most of the damage, but Eminem was still nervous. After all, in comparison, his body behind the light wall was still too weak, although after being promoted to Harvest Priest, he was much stronger than ordinary people, especially in terms of endurance. But putting it into this level of Pokémon offense and defense, it's still not good enough. Eminem had an idea and immediately shouted, "Ha ha ha, you fried chicken, you have the ability to shock me." Although Lightning Bird didn't understand why, he should have noticed that there was something wrong with Eminem not being injured at all just now. At this time, Eminem was thinking, if he tried the empty city strategy again, wouldn't he be the reincarnation of Zeuge? You're so mad at me, you're so mad at me. Electricity, electricity, electricity. I saw the lightning bird rushing up directly. Amidst the lightning and thunder, struck down. An electric pillar almost half the thickness of the weak tench group fell directly. Slim Shady. You Zangfei, you. Fortunately, Eminem reacted immediately and commanded the weak tench swarm under him. At the critical moment, he splashed water in the air and swung his double fins, turning Eminem downwards. Eminem was holding the weak tench swarm at the moment. A body made of water energy cannot fall down. At the same time, the group of weak tench with their belly facing up also used hold at the critical moment and directly blocked this thunder. Immediately afterwards, two weak tench schools, the water system fluctuations around them suddenly erupted, carrying huge waves that were really in the air, and pounced on the lightning bird. It's the water physics skill, waterfall climbing. Lightning bird was hit twice first, and then nimbly dodged twice, and then suddenly the whole body thundered. At this time, lightning bird also used the electric physical skill, crazy volt. I saw the electrical energy surging around the lightning bird, forming a lightning bird that was 2 or 3 times larger than itself, and then rushed directly towards the weak tench group coming up from the waterfall, tearing them apart. Finally, the waterfall climbing of the two weak tench schools was interrupted, and hundreds more fish fell back into the sea. Eminem also saw at this time that in terms of combat power, this lightning bird was not much better than a single weak tench group. This can be seen from the skill battle, although it is the same every time lightning bird had the upper hand, but at least the weak tench school did not suffer a big loss, and you must know, the electric type can restrain the water type. If the gap is really big, the weak tench group will definitely be more embarrassed now. Point at this time. The thunderstorm caused by the power of the mythical beast is equivalent to a forced version of rainy day weather, but the high altitude close to the thundercloud is also equivalent to an enhanced version of electrical field. The weak tench school and lightning bird are strengthened to almost the same degree. Therefore, the current weak tench group is actually taking advantage of the weather created by the lightning bird. The lightning bird uses the divine power of the lightning bird among the three real holy birds to create an effect. The only impact on the current battle is to make weak tench school can only use water-based skills. Although electric and water-based skills are very detrimental to waves, other types of skills will be even less powerful. Moreover, the actual combat ability of the weak tench group is obviously lower. After all, they are made up of weak tench, which gives them a feeling of being large and useless. With inflated combat power, the lightning bird should be weaker than the weak tench in terms of pure attack power. However, relying on the advantage of the electric and water element in fighting, no matter whether the body collides or the energy waves, it does not show any timidity, and even small has advantages. In terms of flexibility and skill readiness speed, lightning bird has greater advantages. Not only is it easier to dodge, but it also uses skills more frequently than weak tench. For this reason, Eminem can only direct the weak tench group to attack in batches to ensure that every time the lightning bird launches a skill, it can have a skill to catch it instead of forcefully resisting. Otherwise it will not be able to hold on for a few times. Chapter 430 Fierce Battle. On the Santanu, many passengers were nervously watching the scene in the sky. I saw only 6 Kagers, and they were evenly matched with the lightning birds. Although some people have recognized the weak tench school, not many people believe it among ordinary people. In short, this wave has a great impact on the reputation of Kaga. In fact, due to the height, what everyone can see clearly is the huge figure of the weak tench school swimming in the air. As for lightning birds, you can only see the flash of lightning, and when lightning bird uses crazy volt, you can see the outline of a big, dazzling lightning bird. The two sides fought fiercely, and for a while, no one could do anything to the other. It's just that those with sharp eyes will notice that there is often a rain of fish all around. I couldn't help but break into a cold sweat, but the good news is that after a while, the rain seemed to lighten up. The rain seems to have lightened up. You sure it's not? Because Kaga was using the water cannon in the sky just now, but now he's not using it anymore, so he looks small. No, look carefully. The center of the thundercloud seems to be further away. The lightning bird was repulsed. No, not that optimistic. It seems that a school of weak tench fish lured it away. What? Shoal of tench? How could there be such a big shoal of tench? Regardless of whether it is a weak tench group or not, Eminem's battle has indeed begun to bear fruit. Although Eminem himself didn't see any chance of defeating the Zapdos, he did pull the Zapdos away a little bit with his guidance point, and Eminem's name has already spread among these thousands of people. Originally, a regional newcomer competition did not have such a big effect, although there are still a large number of people who have not seen anyone on the back of Kaga with their own eyes, so they don't believe it. But after all, the news has spread, especially among the gym owners on the ship. They naturally knew the fighting power displayed by Eminem, or the weak tench group. But this time, flat-haired beast, if you have the guts, come here. Stop for me. Lightning bird caught up and shocked Eminem again. Eminem was electrocuted so much that his whole body was numb, but he was still able to endure it. There was nothing wrong with Leoka's description. After discovering that he would only be electrocuted, Eminem went a little further and came to seduce the lightning bird himself. After chasing Eminem again, the lightning bird was also staggered, climbing the Waterfall by 2 weak tench schools chasing after him. However, the lightning bird was not afraid, spread its wings, and faced it at the same time. Eminem also discovered a problem. The threat posed by weak tench schools to lightning birds is getting smaller and smaller, mainly because the number is decreasing. Although the lightning bird is also consuming physical strength, the impact on its strength is obviously not as great. As the continued reduction of the weak tench group, after the number dropped to about 8,000, it was obvious that they were somewhat unable to cope with the lightning bird's point, and lightning bird also realized at this time that he seemed to have been fooled. Just as they were about to return, 3 weak tench schools stirred up huge vortexes in the air from 3 directions at the same time, rolling towards the lightning bird. Even the lightning bird, which had clearly begun to gain an advantage in combat power, was temporarily trapped and unable to escape. At the same time, the other 2 weak tench schools that had just climbed the waterfall flicked their tails and quickly flew towards the sea. The other 3 branches are desperately maintaining the tide whirlpool, trapping the lightning bird in place. The 2 weak tench schools that flew down dived into the sea and flew out again after a while, as if they were just poking around for fun. The ordinary passengers on the Santanu didn't understand it at this time. Only a few people could see that the weak tench group was a little bigger, or it had returned to its original size. This is exactly why Eminem left some weak tench in the sea. But before the 2 of them could fly up, lightning bird had its skills ready and directly used Crazy Volt to tear open the tide whirlpool that trapped itself and get out. The 3 surrounding weak tench schools also suffered heavy losses again. Dog human, get out of my way. Lightning bird chirped to Amu, who was riding the last weak tench group. Didn't you tell me to stop? Eminem deliberately provoked. You're so mad at me. You're so mad at me. The lightning bird shocked Eminem again. But this time it's not a skill at all, and Eminem didn't break the defense. In fact, the absolute defense efficiency of the light wall that is always stuck with the texture of dragon scales is quite high. You must know that it is under the electric field environment created by the real divine power. If it is in a normal place, even if lightning bird uses skills, it should be similar to the current normal attack, and it will not break defense. At this time, 2 of them were replenishing blood. No, the group of weak tench that were replenishing fish came back, and the other 3 were tumbling toward the sea. Another weakness of the weak tench group is also exposed. It relies heavily on Eminem's command. However, Eminem himself is very unfamiliar with this level of fighting. The high frequency and high effect skills of both sides caught Eminem a little off guard, and he could only command from the tactical level, so the weak tench group seemed very rigid. At the same time, there was good news on the Santanu. Sakaki had completely defeated Machishi. Even in this weather, the ground type electricity immunity was broken, and Machishi's electric Pokémon still had some enhanced. Mazishi still lost to Sakaki. At this time, Sakaki was riding on the Mega Needle Bee like a knight, and the last electric shock beast beside Mazishi had also fallen under 5 lightning slashes. That's it, Sakaki said, looking down at Mazishi in the light of lightning. Ha ha, Sakaki, you won this time, but, you traitors, don't even think about catching me to claim credit from the Quartz Alliance. At this moment, Mazishi's eyes were filled with obvious electric light. At the same time, Naughty Thunder Bomb, which had already lost its combat effectiveness, suddenly came to life with lightning all over its body. It is the special ability that an electric training master can master, electrical pacing, which can forcefully revive a Pokémon that has lost its combat effectiveness. The price is that it will cause a huge backlash burden for both the trainer and the Pokémon. No. Arju realized what he wanted to do and immediately asked his Pokémon to stop him. However, Sakaki stretched out his arm and stopped him. The next moment, Mazishi fell into the sea from the top floor without protection. At the same time, Naughty Thunder Bomb also rushed over. When many other gym owners reacted and wanted to catch up, they directly Big Bang, the big explosion of the king level Naughty Thunder Bomb directly caused many Pokémon that were chasing after them to lose the battle and faint. At the same time, the impact of the explosion also caused Mazishi to accelerate his fall, almost smashing into the seawater. Zyarksha discovered this scene and quickly directed Laplace to fish for people below. But Laplace didn't fish for anything. After coming up, he just shook his head. Unless there is a special instruction or request, Laplace will not go out of its way to retrieve the body. Don't be like this. Don't be like this. I surrender. I explain. I give evidence. I know many secrets. At this time, Lambda decisively placed all 6 elf balls on the ground, and then raised his hands. Chapter 431. Parents are here. Eminem in the sky has already seen the rising sun emerging. However, the people on the Sentinel were not able to be illuminated by even a ray of morning light due to thunderclouds at the same time. Eminem's 6-week tench schools have fully recovered at this time, only in less than half an hour. The reserve week tench has been almost consumed. Although Lightning Bird's physical strength has declined, it becomes more courageous with each battle. Sakaki had already defeated Mazishi at this time, and couldn't help but look solemn as he watched the fierce battle in the air that bested Mazishi. It seems that no order was given to the Lightning Bird in the end. No, if you think about it carefully, Sakaki thinks it's strange that he would give the order. Lightning Bird should only come to complete what he asked just for the promise. How could it actually be connected to his mind? At this time, Kajiro ran up and shouted like all the little guys, "It's not good. It's not good, boss." Sakaki. Kajiro came closer and reported something to Sakaki. Aju on the side also heard it. It was just that the situation of the Shinshiano was getting worse and worse, and the number of remaining lifeboats and organized water-type trainers were not enough. Especially now the rain here is just abating, and it has not left the range of thunderclouds. If this continues, there will definitely be casualties among the passengers. Hearing this, Sakaki nodded silently, with confusion in his eyes. Aju, who had vaguely guessed something, immediately said, "Boss, this is all Sinojunsha's fault. It was Lemmy who colluded with the traitor in Team Rocket. No, he colluded with Team Sino Galaxy in an attempt to mass casualties, to destroy the stability of the Quartz Alliance. And the evidence is conclusive, so many museum owners and Junsha present can testify." Ju immediately threw the blame on Lame's head. And it's not actually a blame shifting. When the chaos in Area A just broke out, some of the museum owners approached Lame and asked her to intervene, but she refused on the grounds that Junsha does not need to get involved in the strife between violent organizations. Even assisted in sealing off the scene. This is what many museum owners have seen, and there is no denying it. By the way, Aju also used Chunkyu's writing skills. The rockets will definitely promote it in the future. It's all the fault of Galaxy Team. What is the internal strife in Team Rocket? They are all traitors of Team Galaxy. There are no violent element in Team Rocket at all. They are all pretended to be Team Galaxy. The ship belongs to Sinop. Team Galaxy belongs to Sinop. And Junsha belongs to Sinop. No matter how heavy the casualties are, the Sino Alliance should give an explanation. At this time, Aju also saw that Sakaki seemed to be struggling with whether to use that dangerous method, so he spoke in such a decisive manner, indirectly persuading Sakaki that this is not our fault, and there is no need to fight hard. Aju didn't know much about that, he just knew that it was a very dangerous thing. However, after Sakaki hesitated for a moment, he still shook his head and said, "I'm here. If the casualties are too large, what's the use? Even if the Sino Alliance takes full responsibility? And, if this incident can be stopped within the Quartz Alliance, nothing can stop me anymore, not even a do." After weighing the pros and cons, Sakaki decided to give it a try. At this time, Sakaki took out an elf ball that he had never taken out when he faced Mazishi. It's obvious that the shape is specially made. Not only are the colors different, but the shape is also more technological. The most conspicuous thing is that there are 6 thin reinforcement chains wrapped around the elf ball, extending from the opening and closing connection part, and connected to the button of the elf ball opening. Obviously this is a typical Pokeball that will affect trainers, and is illegally modified in any alliance, and it is a forced confinement type of Pokeball. Sakaki was also a little nervous at this time. After pressing 3 times, 3 of the reinforcing chains had retracted, and the entire Pokeball was shaking slightly. I don't know if it was Sakaki's hand shaking, or just when Sakaki was about to undo all the seals and release the things inside, a sound came from the distance. Upbraid. The sound of birds singing louder than before came from afar. Boss. Arju quickly stopped Sakaki's movements, and at the same time there was a look of surprise in his eyes. It seems there's no need. Sakaki also breathed a sigh of relief. However, Eminem was originally fighting with the lightning bird in the air, but now he was startled. No way. Another lightning bird is here. I can't even handle one. Do we really want Leoka to take action again? However, Leoka cannot appear completely now. If he takes action forcefully, will he show his cowardice? Eminem didn't worry for too long. The lightning bird in front of Eminem was even more panicked than Eminem. Along with a burst of sound breaking through the air, another cry came. This time, the thunderclouds that were rolling in the sky seemed to resonate with it, and began to dissipate. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. Dog humans. Dog humans. Wait for me. Lightning bird said confusedly. The next moment, Eminem saw a huge lightning bird flying from a distance, and in an instant it was in front of Eminem. To be precise, it was above his head, in front of the little lightning bird. Eminem just thought that the other party was coming to help, so he instinctively moved away. This big lightning bird had a wingspan of 6 to 7 meters. Not only was it astonishingly powerful, but Eminem saw at this moment that its feathers were all in the shape of lightning, and there was thunder surging in his breath. Leoka, is this the lightning bird among the 3 holy birds? The strongest one, lightning bird. Leoka obviously didn't know anything about the 3 sacred birds, but he knew that this was the strongest one among the lightning birds. When Eminem saw that the parent of the naughty child finally came, he finally let out a sigh of relief. The reason why he was half relieved was because Eminem didn't know yet whether the parent was a naughty child or not. When he saw her, he immediately dispersed the thunderclouds. Eminem still somewhat relieved. Leoka, this lightning bird with the priesthood, how is its strength compared to you? Leoka sneered and ignored Eminem. I saw the big and small lightning birds. They seemed to be communicating with each other at this time. The main thing was that the small lightning birds were surrounding the big lightning birds and seemed to be talking about something. Eminem was a little worried that she was complaining, but Eminem didn't have to worry for too long. Eminem immediately saw that the big lightning bird suddenly waved its wings and slapped the little lightning bird down. This little lightning bird was really stubborn. He immediately flew back and continued talking to the big lightning bird. Maybe he was refuting. Anyway, he was immediately parried down again, and even this time he was hit directly into the sea. However, the little lightning bird flew out immediately and rushed towards the big lightning bird again, seemingly very excited. The result was no surprise. Seeing the naughty child being beaten, the smile gradually spread on Eminem's face. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 432 Script. Mummy. They won't let me fulfill my promise. Mummy. Why did you hit me? It was that person who scolded me. Old thing. I've known for a long time that I'm not your biological child. I'm going to find out. Flat-haired beast. If you can't afford to offend me, I'll hide. I saw in the sky. The little lightning bird stepped forward to complain, but was flew away by The little lightning bird came forward to entangle, but was flown away by The little lightning bird wanted to fly away, but was caught up, and flew back. Eminem watched happily, seeing that the situation had been effectively controlled. So he fell down. Only then did everyone completely confirm that there were really people on those cargos, and they were so young. At the same time, I also saw clearly, it really wasn't Karga Zyarksha on Laplace and Yuan Zeon Gem Starfish saw Eminem coming down. They were stunned for a moment, and then quickly shouted, "Why are you down?" Eminem didn't understand yet. Isn't this none of my business? Have you gone up to persuade the lightning bird? Zyarksha's eyes followed the little lightning bird that was pulled down again, and then added, I mean the big one, huh? What are you trying to persuade? Are you asking for compensation? Amu thought about it, and it really made sense. What kind of compensation? I mean, go up now and persuade her to stop hitting the little lightning bird. Zyraksha said immediately. Eminem still didn't understand. Yes, after this, she will probably let the little lightning bird follow you. Yuanzi is much more utilitarian point, but for Zyraksha, Yuanzi, and almost everyone in this world, this is a story routine they have heard since childhood. A pure descendant of a divine beast was exploited by despicable and shameless humans and almost harmed other innocent humans. Fortunately, a wise and courageous hero among humans turned the tide. After that, the descendant of the divine beast was punished by the righteous divine beast. At this time, according to the script, the human hero should go up and persuade him. After that, there is a high probability that the divine beast will hand over the descendant to him for training point. This is as natural as starting a love story after a hero saves a beauty point. Even indeed, the big lightning bad was also very puzzled at this time. Why did this person get down? Shouldn't you come over? The big lightning bird just felt that the thunder feather he gave his daughter was activated and hurried over. Firstly, if she is in danger, she can rescue her. Secondly, if there is no danger, she can stop her daughter from getting into trouble. Fortunately, there is no danger. I'm just causing trouble. The big lightning bad was actually relieved. Point however, seeing a boat of people below. The big lightning bird quickly dispersed the thunder clouds and then noticed the weak tench group and Eminem, so he wanted to go through the process. Well, if you do something wrong, you have to pay the price point. Although humans are weak, as a true divine beast, she certainly knows the meaning of humans is extraordinary. Point. If there are too many casualties, even the descendants of the mythical beasts will be punished. Isn't this good at educating naughty children? I don't think I'm needed. Seeing that the little lightning bad was still being beaten, Eminem smiled again for a while. You just shocked me. Watching a naughty kid get beaten is quite a relief. Point. But Eminem smiled and found that Zyraksha and Yuanzi were looking at him, and even the passengers on the lifeboat next to him and the passengers on the deck were also looking down at him. Point. Eminem felt like someone just confessed to him in public. This favor pressure is a bit big. How about I go up and take a look? Eminem felt like he had been kidnapped by morality, but who makes himself a moral person? Speaking of which, Eminem still wants to complain. Isn't the morality of these people a bit strange? Think about it. The cold rain just hit your faces randomly, and what this naughty kid does is really deadly. Of course, Eminem didn't say it out loud. After all, this is the mainstream culture of the Pokémon world, and Eminem could also guess that, even if he said it, the answer he would get would definitely be, this is all the fault of despicable humans. She is just a child who wants to fulfill her promise. Although he didn't catch a bad cold, Eminem still rode up again on a weak tench group in full view of everyone. Point. At this time, the morning sun had already shone on the sea, and everyone could see clearly that it was indeed Eminem sitting on the back of Kaigarano. It was the weak tench school. Eminem didn't approach directly, but wanted to see if she hadn't beaten enough yet. However, just when Eminem had just flown so close that it was a far-fetched distance in front of, the big lightning bird was already impatient to stop. Thank you, human being. Fortunately, you stopped Little Flash. The big lightning bird directly instilled consciousness into Eminem's mind. Baby, Zapdos is not really called Little Flash, but the language between Pokémon, which is different from human language, is directly poured into Eminem's mind, so that Eminem understands that he is talking about her. Eminem also understands that communicating with a mythical beast of this level does not require the ability of animal sensing at all. In fact, the little lightning bird can also understand human language. The main purpose of using animal sensing before was to directly touch the heart and communicate more effectively. Efficiency. Eminem said directly at this time, you're welcome, but it was indeed dangerous just now. I think it's better not to give her anything too dangerous in the future. Big lightning bird, do you think I'm also to blame for co-authoring it? See it? Am I right? Zio-chan immediately started making noises from the side point. After hesitating for a moment, the big lightning bird just pounced on her. Eminem always feels that the big lightning bird looks at him strangely, as if there is some resentment. Eminem also felt that he should say something, so he spoke carefully and politely. If you want me to subdue her, forget it. After all, my inclination attribute does not include electricity. Big lightning bird. Little lightning bird. The little lightning bird, which quickly flew back, had just come closer and heard what Amu said and immediately said with wings, "How can this not make sense? How can it not make sense? How can it not make sense? You flat-haired beast, do you want him to subdue me?" The big lightning bird also wants to know, how did it fast forward to conquer? I haven't spoken yet, okay? And, are mythical beasts, that's called following, right? Is it something you should say to a mythical beast if its attributes don't match? But when he heard the words of the little lightning bird, the big lightning bird's face darkened, and he immediately pinned her down again. Ahem, you really need more education, otherwise you will learn to speak dirty words. Eminem said after coughing twice. The big lightning bird glanced at Eminem silently. She seemed to know how she learned this dirty word point, and at this time, she looked at Eminem critically and felt in her heart. It seemed that letting her daughter follow him was not a good choice, so, change to script 2. Not everyone, even the mythical beasts, can like them, but if you meet someone you don't like, just give them something as a gift. Just like a hero who saves a beauty, he may be a cow and a horse in the next life. There are 3 thunder feathers here. The big lightning bird just spoke because he wanted to give away items that would be helpful to the trainer. He paid attention to Eminem's strength. He also noticed the weak tench group. Following the trend, he also noticed why there were so many weak tench. Tench will swarm under Eminem's command. Chapter 433, Poor Hearts of Parents in the World. Are you the messenger of Lord Dragon God? Lightning Bird's surprised emotion was accurately conveyed to Eminem's heart. Dragon God. Eminem was stunned for a moment, then realized, are you talking about Leixi? Big Lightning Bird. Seeing that the big lightning bird was silent, Eminem immediately asked Leixi in his heart, what's going on? Why is the 3 sacred birds called the Dragon God? Does Lugia know? Did you and Lugia fight over the sea? Eminem suddenly discovered that Kaoparis seemed to be more powerful than he thought. Snoring. Kaoparis purred artificially to show that he did not want to answer. The big lightning bird was silent for a moment, and then before it could speak, Amu asked, how to use Thunder Feather? Was it given to me? Eminem looked longingly at the 3 hairs floating in front of the big lightning bird. Are they for me? Why did he mention Leixi in the middle of the sentence and then stop talking about it? Yes. The big lightning bird has no intention of taking it back. Then, I will. Eminem felt that he had stopped the little lightning bird from causing trouble, and he deserved the 3 hairs. The little lightning bird that had just flown back also saw the 3 feathers floating in front of its mother. Although I was a little unhappy, I actually wanted to thank this guy, but it seems that my mother is still reliable. Are you planning to use this as a thank you gift? Then you don't have to follow yourself. Just when Eminem was about to accept it, the voice of the big lightning bird came into his heart. These 3 thunder feathers can usually be used as permanent thunderstones that can be charged. Ordinary Pokémon can carry them in battle, can form an electrical field, but it also needs to be charged in lightning, and if it is used by Xiaofang, it can permanently consume a thunder feather to form the weather just now. Only then did Eminem realize that it seemed that this feather was the reason why the little lightning bird could gather thunder clouds before, so he paid more attention to it. Of course, how the little lightning bird can be used has nothing to do with Eminem. Just when Eminem was about to accept it, the big lightning bird changed his voice and said, if you are willing to let Zio-shen follow you, consider this as a thank you gift for teaching her. Little lightning bird. This old bird is crazy, and how much do you look down on me? Do you want to add some thunder feathers together? This time, before the little lightning bird could speak, the big lightning bird pounced on him first. Do you want me to subdue her? But I'm really not very good at teaching her, and I'm not inclined towards electricity either. Eminem expressed his embarrassment seriously. Big lightning bird, you're not done yet, are you? Feeling the resentment of the big lightning bird, Eminem suddenly reacted, are you asking her to follow me for Leoka's sake? Well, don't get me wrong, Leoka has no ambitions for the sea. I have no intention of competing with Lugia or Kyogre for position. Eminem has already figured out in his mind the motive why the lightning bird must do this. Could it be that he thought that the old god Leoka was going to be restored, so he was betting on both ends? Will he continue to be the three holy birds under Lugia, and then let his daughter follow Leoka? Gee, I didn't expect that the mythical beast has so many thoughts. Big lightning bird, Kaoparis. The big lightning bird thought of Lord Dragon God, suppressed his anger again, and said instead, I believe that Xiaoshen will learn a lot after following you. The big lightning bird didn't pick up Amuna's imaginative topic at all, nor did he mention Lord Dragon God much point if it has nothing to do with Leoka. Eminem's eyes suddenly lit up at this moment. Could it be that it was my motherly aura that made the big lightning bird think that I would be able to teach her daughter well? Seeing that the big lightning bird was so sincere, Eminem agreed tentatively. Okay, poor parents in the world, then I will accept this child for the time being. But we have to make an agreement, otherwise if she is disobedient in the future, it would be difficult for me to break free from the Pokeball. The tone of the big lightning bird is becoming more and more kind. There's another thing. Well, I just taught her how to get along with humans, and how to be a useful divine beast. I'm not proficient in electric ability training, and I probably won't take her with me in competitions. Eminem now had a tone of I'm not neglecting her. Big lightning bird. The big lightning bird was a little suspicious at this time. Could it be that Lord Dragon God was dead? Did this guy happen to pick up the dragon scale talisman? Otherwise, with the temper of Lord Dragon God, you think so beautifully. Little lightning bird had rushed back at this time, and was very angry when he heard Eminem's last words, now soaked to the skin and furious. The little Zapdos now looks a bit like the Zapdos in the game point, and as a little lightning bird said, another thunder came down. Just when the big lightning bird was about to stop him, he saw a light wall with dragon scale patterns appeared around Eminem, perfectly blocking his daughter's attack. Now there is no increase in venue and weather, and the skills of the little lightning bird are not enough to hurt Eminem. Big lightning bird. Lord Dragon God is watching him? And this is some kind of deep contract signed with him, so the power can be transmitted, right? Wait, then why? Thinking of Lord Dragon God's temper, Big Lightning Bird even doubted whether this was a fishing law enforcement against him. Moreover, this person also called Lord Dragon God to his face. What is that? The next moment, the Big Lightning Bird rushed over and fiercely pushed the little Lightning Bird into the sea again. At this time, the Big Lightning Bird, who had no doubts anymore, directly started to make a 3-chapter agreement with his daughter. For each chapter, he had to kiss her several times before she would obey. For a moment, the ordinary people below were dumbfounded. Not to mention ordinary people. Even Sakaki has never seen this formation. Why did the Lightning Bird fight even more vigorously after Eminem went up? Could it be that Eminem didn't come to persuade, but went to complain? But even if you file a complaint, the effect will be too good, right? Sakaki, who understands the mythical beasts better, understands that despite watching the lightning birds fighting happily just now, in fact, they must be waiting for the step at this time. If Eminem went to complain, he wouldn't be so enthusiastic. Then an even more incredible scene appeared. The little lightning bird was aggrieved and was thrown a Pokeball by Eminem. Originally, when Sakaki used a telescope to see 3 thunder feathers appearing in front of the holy lightning bird, he thought that Eminem had missed the opportunity and could only settle for accepting the gift from the mythical beast. In fact, Sakaki didn't find it strange. After all, Eminem had missed the opportunity. Mew actually came down to watch the fun, and then went up, after fighting for so long. But now, Sakaki can't understand it anymore. Chapter 434 Reluctantly agree. Sakaki was greatly shocked when he saw this scene. He thought of the giant dragon, but he didn't understand what it was. Even if the giant dragon is really stronger than the real divine beasts like the 3 holy birds, it won't make the 3 holy birds so afraid, right? After all, There is Lugia behind the three holy birds, and according to his speculation, Eminem shouldn't be able to call out the giant dragon at any time. Sakaki doesn't think this is a matter of pure strength. I saw the big lightning bird suddenly calling thunder and lightning in the air and struck at Eminem just when Sakaki thought that Eminem said something unpleasant again, and the big lightning bird couldn't bear it anymore. Suddenly discovered, to be precise, it wasn't hitting Eminem, but hitting a Pokeball in front of Eminem. It's really hard to see clearly without a telescope. This elf ball floating in front of Eminem, undergoing the baptism of thunder and lightning, should be the elf ball that just put away the little lightning bird. At this time, Eminem had successfully made a 3-part agreement. As Eminem said before, if he had to teach the little lightning bird, he would not be unable to agree, but he had to make sure that she was obedient. At least, he couldn't think of using the Pokeball. When you get out, break free. Otherwise, wouldn't it cause big problems if we did this in the city? Generally speaking, ordinary Pokémon can break free from normal Pokéballs if they are severely rebellious, not to mention a mythical beast. Normal elf balls have almost no effect on subduing mythical beasts. They can only be contained with active cooperation. And with a little struggle, you can break free. According to the information given to Eminem by teacher Jumu, the principle of the Pokeball is to make Pokémon enter a different dimension to sleep, and Eminem also knows that this different dimension is the one where Leoka is. It's just that where Leoka is, there is at least some life, and the place outside is completely dead. After Pokémon enters the different dimension, it is naturally in a dead place outside. Entering the deadly land, Pokémon will be in a special state of dormancy, similar to hibernation. Its consumption will be reduced, and normal injuries will stop deteriorating. But if you wake up at this time, you will naturally leave this dimension, that is, pop out from the Pokeball. The only exception is Leoka here. Perhaps because there is vitality here, and per unit area, it can be described as surging with vitality, and it can even barely support the pension card. It doesn't matter if he wakes up here. It's like a mutated EV, and now he has been controlling everything in Leoka's place for a long time. Eminem specially changed the coordinates of the elf ball to Leoka's place. Normally, it is impossible to assign them here of point in the same way. Other Pokémon can't change this. If Eminem is more shameless, he can even let the Pokémon in the battle come to Leoka to recover in the middle of the game, and then all of them will have unlimited physical strength. Of course, Eminem wants to lose face, and Leoka doesn't allow Eminem to put other Pokémon in. After all, the life here is limited. If it weren't for the further resurgence of Amuling's vitality, and the situation of the mutant EV was indeed special, ordinary Pokéballs wouldn't be able to contain it. Old Callan would also have to drive out the mutant EV. Eminem just asked Leoka if he could put the little lightning bird here, and the answer was of course no. Eminem also conveyed this meaning to the big lightning bird, but found that the big lightning bird looked at him more and more strangely. The big lightning bird also couldn't figure out why Lord Dragon God had such a good temper. You actually allow others to discuss. Can mythical beasts be placed in sanctuaries? Shouldn't this be killed directly? Eminem was not killed, so the big lightning bird believed that he must have a close relationship with Lord Dragon God, although I don't know what's going on specifically, and, in fact, the big lightning bird understands the situation of Lord Dragon God, and is not really afraid that it will come out and kill him, but out of respect and reverence, he still thinks that the person whom Lord Dragon God values must be something special. In addition, the little lightning bird has indeed reached the point where it needs education, so the big lightning bird pinched its nose and recognized it, and directly helped Eminem reinforce a Pokeball. Ordinarily, it is a serious illegal act to modify a Pokeball for forced restraint without permission, but now Eminem is called a gift from a divine beast. The three holy birds ask Eminem to teach their children, but no one can say anything. The most important thing about the so-called 3 chapters of the agreement is that Eminem can at least take the little Zapdos back into the Pokeball, and she can't just take it out when she wants. After some incomprehensible negotiations by Eminem, the big lightning bird in the sky left, and Eminem flew down with the elf ball containing the little lightning bird. How is it that little lightning bird is really following you? Yuanzi asked curiously when he saw Amy coming down. Well, I've already conquered it. Amu nodded after hearing this. Sonoko, the people around them who heard this also looked at them sideways. Zyuksha immediately corrected her. I'm following you. No, it's about subduing. I told the big lightning bird that she can teach her daughter if she wants me to, but she must really subdue and obey. Eminem said matter-of-factly. Point at this moment, Eminem looked at the still sinking Santinu and then pressed the special elf ball in his hand that seemed to be wrapped with thunder and saw the little lightning bad was released at this time. It was only then that everyone saw the appearance of the culprit up close. For a moment, people on and off the boat couldn't help but exclaimed, "Dog human. Who allowed you to let me out? No, who allowed me to come in? It makes me mad. It makes me mad." As soon as the little lightning bird came out, it started to be manic. In fact, her mother also said just now that this may have something to do with her being a little pushy, because the little lightning bird wanted to follow a human in order to repay a favor, so the big lightning bird forcibly helped her improve her electric ability. For this reason, the big lightning bird has just resealed some of the electrical abilities that she cannot control. The key to reopen is in the hands of Eminem, or in times of danger, the little lightning bird can break through the restraints, especially if Eminem hands her the feather of thunder, she will still be able to exert her previous strength, which is almost that of a divine beast. Of course it's okay to call you out. Quickly, apologize to everyone. Eminem said seriously. What are you apologizing for? What nonsense. Bah bah bah. The little lightning bad circled Eminem and seemed to be spitting. You just took the boat. Well, you just seriously delayed the rescue. Look, there are so many people because you lost their luggage and you are still in such a mess. Go and apologize. Eminem thought for a while and the boat sank. Mainly because of the bombing. It's not the storm's fault. That's what you humans asked me to do. Little lightning bird pretended to be in a natural mood, but under animal sense, Eminem could actually feel that she was already a little guilty under her mania. A large part of the mythical beasts are indeed so logical, because the mythical beasts are not human beings, so they will naturally regard humans as a whole, but the little lightning bird has been in contact with humans, so it is not that it cannot understand what Eminem means, and now it is just pretending to be stupid and denying it. No, Masashi is a bad guy, but you helped the bad guy and hurt everyone, so you must apologize. Eminem said patiently. Then, that's what Uang Mayor asked me to do. Little lightning bird still said harshly, isn't it because you are grateful to the owner of the gold hall that you promised him 3 things? In fact, you can understand the difference between humans and humans, right? Don't pretend to be stupid and apologize immediately. Eminem's tone became stern. I don't know why, but the little lightning bird feels that this human dog is obviously very weak and is just resisting beatings, but it gives him the feeling of facing his mother. In addition, the little lightning bird just now promised to be obedient under the majesty of the true mother, so the little lightning bird always feels that he keeps his promise. Apologize? Do you want me to apologize? I'm telling you, I'm going to apologize if I apologize. Chapter 435 Apology. October 11th. Early in the morning, the Santino is still sinking. Although the AI, Santino, has been fully recovered, the hull is leaking, and the watertight compartment is blown. The hardware cannot be restored. Moreover, it is inaccessible and cannot be repaired. The sinking has already inevitable. It's just that Noah cooperated with Dr. Agasa to rescue the AI core of Sanchiano. Although the AI is not a Pokémon like Porygon or even a life, it gives people the feeling that it can think. It makes people want to save. But the good news is that the rain has finally passed and the weather has cleared up. The crew and passengers left the ship in an orderly manner, and those in better health took the aquatic Pokémon, while the weak, old, young, sick and disabled took the few lifeboats. The lightning bird was hovering above everyone's heads, making a chirping sound. Dog humans ask me to apologize. Dog humans ask me to apologize. No one else could understand it anyway, so lightning bird just apologized. Eminem didn't insist on correcting such small things. He still had to do it bit by bit. When Zio Flash was obviously still rebellious, There was no need to be tit for tat in every little thing. However, due to Eminem's deliberate publicity, everyone already knew that Lightning Bird was apologizing. People said one after another, "This is all Marzish's fault. The pure mythical beast is innocent." Okay, come down, Eminem shouted to the Lightning Bird. As soon as the Lightning Bird landed back, Eminem was about to turn over and ride on it. As a result, the Lightning Bird struggled quickly and shocked Eminem a few times. Of course, without the weather bonus, it would not break the defense at all. Arsehole. Dog humans. How unreasonable. What are you up to? Is it true? Is it true? Lightning Bird said excitedly. Can't you ride? Amu said in surprise. Of course not. Don't underestimate the mythical beast. Arsehole. 4 eyes. Idiot. The consciousness of Lightning Bird is always so impatient and broken. But now I have to ride you up and help direct the rescue. Only in this way can it be considered a complete apology from you. Eminem said seriously. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. Die, die, die. Lightning Bird's consciousness became noisy. Others only saw. After Eminem pressed the little Lightning Bird's back, the little Lightning Bird kept flapping its wings towards him. How do you feel? Lightning Bird doesn't seem to want to see Eminem, Zyarksha said with sweat dripping from her head. At this time, the kind-hearted Zyarlan helped Eminem and said, "No, if you don't like it, you won't be accepted. Ahem. You won't follow Eminem, right?" As a person in the Pokémon world, Zyarlan still cannot accept the setting of conquering the mythical beasts as a matter of course. I understand. Yuanzi said deeply at this time. Zyarksha and Zyarlan looked over in surprise, wondering what Yuanzi understood. Why do you still have experience in mythical beasts? You are obviously following Eminem, but you are still resisting. So, this is the arrogant Lightning Bird. Yuanzi said very reasonably. Zyarksha, Zyarlan, you are that son dear. Your whole family is arrogant. Lightning Bird turned around and chirped at Yuanzi again. She seems to like me very much too. Yuanzi said a little embarrassed. It doesn't seem like this. Zyarlan couldn't help but muttered in a low voice. Zyarksha asked at this time, "By the way, is Conan okay?" Zyarlan nodded and said, "Yes. Brother Long took him back to the cabin to get dry clothes. The ship is big, so it sinks slowly. In case of emergency, you still have time to return to the cabin. It was indeed dangerous just now. In order to save the little girl, Conan accidentally fell into the sea. Fortunately, he was fished out by Laplace, but maybe his small body could not withstand the impact when he fell into the water, and he choked on the water and went into shock. Just when Zyarlan wanted to perform artificial respiration, Longyi rushed over and quickly rescued Conan through cardiopulmonary resuscitation and artificial respiration. It is really gratifying and gratifying. At the same time, under the fierce protest of the little Lightning Bird, Eminem took a step back. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about coming up here in your life. Don't even think about it in the next life. Don't even think about it in the next life. The little Lightning Bird is very nutritious, and it is conveyed with the consciousness of trying to make up for the word count. But your apology must be sincere with actual actions. Well, if you really don't want to, then that's it. You go up and find a few children who haven't had time to come down yet. Forget it. This is still not sincere enough." Before Eminem finished speaking, the little Lightning Bird had already flown up. Amidst the exclamations, everyone only saw the Lightning Bird pick up a few children, throw them on their backs, and then go away, almost snatching them directly from the parents' arms. Wait. Conan was also shouted down directly. When the little Lightning Bird was discovered and several children were sent to the lifeboat on the sea, the scene burst into applause. Look, Zapdos is helping the children. Sure enough, it's all that Marzish's fault. Lightning Bird must have been forced. Yes, I heard that Marzishi is still an undercover agent of the Sinnoh Galaxy team. Damn. Team Galaxy. I used to feel that they were different from other violent organizations, but now it seems they are not as good as Team Rocket, except for the small chaos in the Synojunsha caused by the discovery that Leixi was killed not long ago. The current rescue seems to be going well, but there is a problem that is already imminent. Lifeboats and aquatic Pokémon are still not enough. At this time, Sakaki came over specifically and asked Eminem, "Can your group of weak tench fish carry passengers? It's okay to stay unsinkable for the time being, but I'm afraid it won't be possible to sail long distances." Eminem shook his head. After all, the body of the weak tench group is made up of water energy, not entities. When Eminem was on it before, he also it will sink slightly. It doesn't matter if you are strong, otherwise your legs will get cold before long. But I can fly farther and bring some Pokémon from the ocean. Amu took the initiative after hearing the current predicament. The reason why we have to fly farther is because when the thundercloud gathered here before, it had scared away all the nearby Pokémon. Just when Sakaki was about to ask his respects, someone suddenly landed from the hot air balloon, and it was Kajiro. Eminem looked up and found that it was indeed a hot air balloon with a meow head. You are too fast and too skilled in making hot air balloons, aren't you, boss? Sakaki, boss, I saw the ship on the frozen island, Kajiro said hurriedly. Sakaki breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this and didn't press his title. He was probably used to it. It seems that there is no need. Prepare for applause. The new trainer of the mythical beast and the favored one of the sea, Sakaki said and praised Eminem. Eminem curled his lips. Did he think that he would forget about changing his competition signature? Chapter 436. Ka brought it. Sakaki, you'd better explain clearly. What have you done? Kona rode Laplace over at this time and shouted angrily. After seeing Sakaki, I saw Kona with her long fiery red hair tied up at this time. The black shirt on the upper body and the black hip-hugging skirt on the lower body were obviously the same set. Judging from the clothes she was wearing, she should not have been prepared to ride Pokémon before setting off. Maybe it was because of the riding. The reason why the Pokémon is running so fast is that it is not wearing the glasses that it usually wears. That's right, Sakaki didn't lie before, and there were indeed reinforcement. This place is not far from the frozen island, the fourth island among the 7 islands. In fact, Sakaki had noticed something in advance and roughly knew the range in which Mazishi would take action. Even if Mazishi did not take action, Sakaki could not help but take the initiative to attack. Therefore, when there was a signal in advance, he asked for help from Kona on the frozen island. Although the position was a little off, Kona was naturally attracted by the huge weather movement before. The frozen island, also known as the fourth island, is not big and has a small population. However, as the hometown of Kona, one of the 4 heavenly kings, it is also the place where he usually stays and the holy land of the ice system. The population flow is very large, so there are also some big ships, but Sakaki didn't expect that the scene would be so ugly. The reason for notifying Kona, who was nearby, was mainly to win over Kona and also to dispel Kona's wariness. Originally, in Sakaki's plan, Kona couldn't be of much help, but later Sakaki would promote Kona's great help in eliminating the crisis of the Sanchiano, which was considered to give her face point, and he also showed Kona that it's all the unscrupulous people like Mazishi who want to harm me. It's just that Sakaki didn't expect that Mazishi would cause such a big deal. When Kona came closer, he found that the Sanchiano had almost sunk to the deck, so Kona immediately jumped off the ship and came over in the Laplace. Could this have been caused by you, Sakaki? Kona has no good feelings towards Sakaki or Team Rocket. His first reaction is, Sakaki has sunk the ship. Mr. Arm and I worked together to ensure the safety of the passengers on the Sandtone. Oh, it's a long story. It was Sinnoh's Galaxy team who colluded with the person in charge of the ship's Junsha from Sinnoh to attack Sandtone. Nu launched an attack, Sakaki said with emotion on his face. Kona? You want to tell me that it was Junsha's fault that the ship sank, and it was you, Sakaki, who saved the passengers? Do you think this king believes it or not? Where is the person in charge of Junsha? Kona asked immediately, being silenced. Sakaki said with regret on his face. Kona. Okay, you still, before Kona could be shocked by his boldness, Sakaki pretended to be full of remorse and said, of course, Team Galaxy and Sinnoh Junsha's target is indeed me. The former has always wanted to expand its power to Kanto, and the latter may have some misunderstandings about me, or he may be a spy in Team Flare, which needs to be investigated. Kona didn't understand why Sakaki would tell such a lie that could be exposed at any time, and she was even ready to take action until she met Yumi and other gym owners. If it were only Aju, Kona still wouldn't believe it. She even had some resistance to her old friend Hiba regarding the rockets issue, but so many museum owners, as well as Yumi, the vigilant of Kanto, also indirectly confirmed Sakaki's words. Especially the gym leaders of the official gyms were very indignant when this matter was brought up. When facing Yumi, they suppressed their temper a little and yelled at Junsha from SYNOPSIS. Kona naturally understands that even these gym owners basically support Sakaki, but they are only supports. Most of them are not fans of Sakaki, or even strong support. In this way, Kona had to believe that such a thing really happened. Of course, Kona did not accept all of Sakaki's nonsense. She only roughly understood the real situation. The old party of Team Rocket rebelled against Sakaki, colluded with Team Galaxy, and even Team Flare, and Sinojans as the person in charge, Leixi, really made some shady deals. Of course, Kona also heard about Lightning Bird and Eminem. Kona was stunned for a moment when he heard something like a school of weak tensions fighting against the Lightning Bird, and the Holy Lightning Bird appeared to entrust the Divine Beast. Kona's fleet arrived, which alleviated the urgent need, although it only took a few hundred people. It was finally possible to squeeze in and everyone could ride point until the Sanchiano was completely sunk. The personnel statistics were generally completed. Compared with sailing from the last port, there were 5 fewer living people on the ship. 3 of them were the dead, Lemmy, the captain, and the president of one of the investors of the Centino Point. The latter 2 died in a vendetta. One was killed before the ship sank, and the other was blown up together with the rescue capsule. Lemmy should have died from silence. In addition to the captain who was killed, the bodies of the other 2 were also carried with him. 2 more people are missing. One of them is Chakra. The attack on the Saint Anouei undoubtedly proved that he was also a mole. While Sakaki was indignant in his heart, he also did not forget to characterize the Chakra as a mole sent by Team Flare to frame Team Rocket. The other missing person is an ordinary female passenger, who is currently identified as Satch in disguise, a double agent of Team Galaxy and Team Flare. The other rebel Team Rocket members, including Lambda, have been captured alive. People from this world are really forbidden to mess around, or the rules of this world are indeed friendly enough to humans. Thousands of people were tortured like this, but not one of them died accidentally. Those who died and disappeared were clearly not considered accidents. Hey, no wonder someone said before that the rockets are related to many network security incidents. It turns out that Chakra is actually a mole. Originally, I just asked him to be responsible for the information security of the rockets. Sakaki looked regretful in front of the science team. And said in front of all the hall owners. Some people really pretended to believe it, but of course, Kona didn't pretend. Eminem even whispered to the side, yes, yes, yes. Who doesn't know that Mr. Sakaki has never even been on a small website since he was a child? Click no on age or not. Well, because he had done a lot of credit in the past, and now he has become the official trainer of the mythical beast. Eminem was also called to a meeting to discuss the follow-up matters. PFFT. Kona couldn't help laughing when she heard Eminem's words. At this time, Kona had let go of her long fiery red hair that did not match the ice type and put on glasses, appearing mature and intellectual. After Kona noticed that someone was looking at her, she quickly restrained herself. Although she didn't like Sakaki, but this topic was not very ladylike. Sakaki kept a straight face, as if he didn't hear anything, and just looked at the person who wanted to knife him. Chapter 437 Rescue. Now let's go to the frozen island first, and give everyone a rest. After that, our rockets can be fully responsible for escorting the passengers and returning them all to major cities in Kanto within a week. During this period, we can only worry about the food, accommodation and medical care. Don't worry about it, our rockets will pay for it in advance. As for the specific subsequent expenses, and the most important thing is to fill in the sunken damage report. When we get to the frozen island, we can also organize it first, and then claim compensation from the Sinnoh Alliance and the Junsha clan. Sakaki talked about the subsequent arrangements. Kona frowned, but didn't object. Let her deliver it. There weren't that many ships on the frozen island, and Sakaki wouldn't cause trouble at this time point. As for the issue of compensation, it is what it should be. Kona only mourned 2 seconds of silence for the insurance company of the Santanu. It's just that Sakaki specifically mentioned the Kunsa clan at this time, which made Kona feel a little awkward. But now the passengers on the ship also know what Leixi has done, and they have added fuel to the fire, and now everyone is furious, although it is a personal act. Now that Sakaki has caught the little tail, the Junsha clan may not be able to get away with it, and now Aju and others are taking the initiative to set the pace. In short, this vicious attack launched by Team Galaxy and Team Flare together with Junsha is to restrain Team Rocket. However, it only allowed Team Rocket to remove the cancer. All previous crimes were obviously the fault of these people. What I want to emphasize is that it is Boss Sakaki who is turning the tide this time, and whoever wants to stop the reform and progress of Team Rocket is an accomplice of Team Galaxy and Team Flare. Of course, Sakaki, who was being praised, first emphasized Eminem's contribution and Kona's role. Kona still had a straight face. Although he knew that this incident had little direct relationship with Sakaki, Kona still had a strong opinion of him. However, it was hard for Kona to criticize Sakaki in this matter at this time. After all, everyone had already seen the intervention of Team Galaxy and Team Flare and even Junsa's disgraceful actions. In eyes, although Kona suspected that Sakaki had already expected an attack, that is, he was deliberately taking risks with the Sanchiano, but there was no evidence. As for Eminem, after he complained about Sakaki in a low voice, he looked distracted, and Sakaki didn't pay any attention to him until, Boss Sakaki, there is a howler whale king outside, approaching with 2 howler whales. At this time, Kajiro hurriedly knocked on the door and came in to report. Sakaki's head jumped. Then why don't you just drive away? Do we have to say it now? Kajiro reacted at this time and said, well, they look very docile. I thought, don't try to tame them. I found them. Just let people go up there. They will swim with the fleet later. Some aquatic Pokémon are almost unbearable, right? There will be more later. Let's all take turns depending on the situation. Don't be anxious. Eminem said directly at this time. Everyone looked over in surprise at this time. This guy looked like he was about to fall asleep, but was he contacting a wild Pokémon? What is the principle? But it's really timely. Sakaki also thanked Eminem again at this time, attracting everyone's attention to Eminem. At this time, everyone was in groups of lifeboats, as well as the frozen island boats, plus a group of aquatic Pokémon and flying Pokémon, barely sailing with towing and dragging, and were heading to the nearest frozen island. It is indeed a bit reluctant, especially since the flying Pokémon is carrying people. I'm afraid that I don't have the energy to fly all the way to the frozen island. It is estimated that there is still more than half a day of flight. However, because Eminem began to recruit along the way to roar the Whale King, the crowding and overloading situation gradually eased. A howler Whale King is more than 10 or 20 meters tall and can accommodate many people, and a howler Whale King can inhale a large amount of air in his body. Its body is like a big balloon, and it is easy to float up. Unlike other aquatic Pokémon, half of the person is in the water when it is carrying someone. What a magical ability. But during the rookie competition, I remember that you were not a water trainer. Are you a pharmacy teacher? Kona asked curiously. After seeing it with his own eyes, Kona could now somewhat imagine what a group of weak Tench versus lightning birds was going on, because this ability actually has nothing to do with me. Well, I'm indeed not a water trainer, and this has nothing to do with pharmacy. Eminem did not go into details, but left room for everyone's imagination. Indeed, many people present were thinking about it. He actually has such a strange ability on the sea. Isn't this invincible? Apart from anything else, even if Eminem doesn't become a pharmacist in the future, he can definitely flourish by opening a shipping company. 3 hours later, the problem of taking the boat has basically been solved. The aquatic Pokémon and flying Pokémon that were originally inconvenient to ride were replaced by King Roar and Roar Whale. Finally, there was no need to soak in the water. The temperature also increased as noon approached. But Kona obviously would not bring too much food for no reason. Most people could only go hungry until night, and the fleet only distributed food to some weak people. Finally, it didn't take too long, and I could bear it, even if my stomach growled. The most depressing people along the way were the Junches of Sinop. Although they had always obeyed Yumi's command and had contributed to the rescue, due to Lemmy's reasons, they inexplicably received a lot of looks along the way. It is conceivable that, although it was a Sinnoh ship this time, it was sunk near the 7 islands affiliated with the Quartz Alliance due to the civil strife of Team Rocket. But, because of the current Galaxy team, especially because of Lemmy's actions for what they did, the Sinnoh Alliance was afraid that they would take the blame and would have to make compensation instead. Lemmy's deeds can be testified by all the Gimonas. Although most of them are Kanto Gimonas, Sinnoh cannot disprove this testimony because Lemmy died inexplicably. Why did she do this? It can only remain a mystery. Even the entire Junsa family will be humiliated and rejected by major alliances because of this. After all, this time, it seems that Romi Junsa is dissatisfied with Sakaki wanting to be the champion of Kanto, so he joins the Galaxy team blow up the ship. Not to mention other alliances, the Sinnoh Alliance may not be able to sit still. Fortunately, there is also Yumi, who was called upon at the critical moment to lead Kanto and Sinnoh's Junsa to actively rescue and effectively stabilize people's hearts. It can be said that from the perspective of rescue alone, no passengers died due to the shipwreck this time. Yumi's meritorious service is the most outstanding, and she has gained a lot of points for the Junsha clan, but that's just from a rescue perspective. As for other aspects, Sakaki was even ready to give a speech and organize a protest against Adu becoming the champion of the Johto region. When he got back, this guy is the son-in-law of the Junsa clan and a Pokémon investigator. A friend of mine said that the Junsa clan is just to let he was the Quartz League champion and controlled the Quartz League, so he colluded with Galaxy team to assassinate Sakaki. Chapter 438 Sneaky Sakaki. On October 11th, it was just getting dark and the temperature began to drop. Fortunately, we had already seen the frozen island. The entire 7 islands are in relatively warm waters. The temperature on the 4th island is actually not low. The 4 seasons on the island are like spring and summer. It is called Frozen Island because there is a frozen waterfall cave in it, which is a large ice cave connected to the underground ice point. As for why there is such a vast underground ice layer here, the formation principle has not yet been determined. There are even rumors that the deepest part is connected to the island, where the frozen birdies, because there are many ice type Pokémon living in it. It is considered an ice-type holy land. Especially after Kona became the Ice Master and one of the 4 kings of the Quartz Alliance. Frozen Island became even more famous, with an endless stream of ice trainers coming and going all year round. There are only 2 small towns on the island, one at the port and one outside the frozen waterfall cave. The division of labor is very clear, and there are also some villages after docking. Kona immediately arranged food and accommodation, as well as medical treatment for some uncomfortable people. Of course someone would feel uncomfortable after being put through such a long night and day. At this moment, Eminem noticed that Yumi was making furtive gestures. Calling him over, Eminem came closer in confusion. And the result? I fainted. Yumi fainted without saying anything. Eminem was startled, and General helped her. Police. Yumi fainted. Quickly, arrange a room for Yumi Junsa to rest. Long live Yumi-sama. Thank you for your hard work, Yumi-sama. Everyone also noticed Yumi's previous performance. Eminem even discovered that there was some suspicious element in the crowd. Yumi has fulfilled her promise, and she is not needed now. So Yumi decided to find a way and rest early instead of continuing to talk nonsense with them. Eminem was very sure that Yumi was faking it, but he found out that it was really getting heavier. Finally, I even heard a slight snore. It seemed that after the tight thread loosened, I really fell asleep. Then Eminem silently reached out to her waist, released the wind speed dog, Star, sent her to rest. Just follow her. Eminem pointed to the staff on the side of Star at the same time. Sakaki also said to Kona, Kona, please help me prepare a laboratory, or a spacious and secluded warehouse. Laboratory? Kona raised the tone 3 tones directly. This look is completely saying, are you going to do some evil experiment? Should we use living people or Pokémon? Order to defeat Masashi as soon as possible. I also used some methods. Please. Sakaki did not elaborate on anything, but he gave a tentative reason point not to mention Kona, who had always disliked him. Even Eminem looked at Sakaki suspiciously. Yumi was exhausted. When it came to a situation where performance was the only purpose, of course she didn't want to stand for a second point. But when it comes to this guy Sakaki, Eminem doesn't look down on Sakaki, but he feels that given his character, even if his legs are broken now, he should still be able to perform the role well. He actually didn't mean to give a speech at all, but wanted an empty warehouse to rest, of course. After Kona took a breath, he agreed. After all, Sakaki was not a prisoner this time, so he asked the assistant on the side to take Sakaki to a warehouse outside the town, and specifically warned, if something happens on Frozen Island, don't blame me for being rude. Don't worry, I'm just taking a rest. Sakaki obviously didn't tell the truth point, and it can be seen at this time that Sakaki actually brought his own scientific research team during the evacuation. He also rescued some unknown equipment. Eminem also feels that this guy is suspicious, but it has nothing to do with Eminem. Since boss Sakaki doesn't want to be known, Eminem won't follow him vigorously. Point. If you don't consider the old card, even if Zapdos attacks, it may not be Sakaki's opponent. Point. This still refers to the situation of using Feather of Thunder, otherwise it means must not be an opponent. Therefore, Eminem had no reason to go to Sakaki to seek bad luck. Instead, after talking to Kona, he was going to find a place to rest on his own. After all, Eminem was also very tired this day. Great heroes, please go to my research institute to rest, Kona said at this time. Kona's glasses are not decorations. Although his main identity is as a trainer, it is true that Kona has also done some research on the ice environment. And like Sakuragi Research Institute, Kona's research institute is also her home. Yumi, Amu, and Sonoko, Zyarksha and others who had participated in asking for help since the first wave were also arranged to rest in the research institute, and ZOAI naturally followed. But when Eminem wanted to lead Nana, she had already gone to meet up with Team Rocket. Besides, I don't know if it was an illusion, but Eminem always felt like he was being given a vague look. Of course, everyone on Team Rocket has been excluded by Kona and the Research Institute. It would be nice to have a warehouse in the suburbs for you to sleep in. Thank you so much. After Eminem arrived to thank him, he quickly followed. Although it was not yet dinner time, Eminem went directly to the guest room of the institute to sleep until he woke up from hunger in the middle of the night. Although Eminem's physical exertion was very intense the day before, whether it was fighting or later searching for the roaring whale king, Eminem's body was full of energy after 8 hours of sleep. Because it was too late and the town was already quiet at this time, Eminem did not go out directly. Instead, he sent a message to Zyarksha and Yuanzi first and asked about late night snacks. Unfortunately, they were all exhausted and did not reply, presumably because they were not awake yet. So Eminem decided to wait for a while. Meanwhile, he was idle, so he released the little lightning bird. Eminem made a silent gesture first. However, although the little lightning bird did not chirp, its consciousness was not idle once it came out, and it quickly caught up with the level of consciousness pollution. Dog human, what are you doing in secret? And why didn't you prepare something to eat for me? I want the essence of thunder and lightning, the water of the sky. Before the little lightning bird could finish speaking, Eminem interrupted first and said, I'll take you to pick fruits later. Before Zio-Shen could speak again, Eminem touched her back and activated animal sense. At the same time, I haven't seen the situation of this little lightning bird yet. Although Eminem had a vague impression of the game data of lightning bird, it should be a racial value in the tens of 500s, but in this world, it is definitely not the case. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 439 Sudden. Eminem used animal sense to observe the current growth level of Little Flash. For ordinary Pokémon, Amu can use animal sense to accurately grasp its growth level, provided that the other party does not reject Amu too much point. But there are exceptions, such as Leoka point of course. Eminem suspected that Leoka also rejected himself from peeking into it, so he was unable to find out its specific abilities. The little lightning bird is still okay now, even though he says he is unwilling to do so. But, after promising the big lightning bird and Eminem, the little lightning bird still keeps his promise, and actually doesn't have much concern for Eminem. In a rejection point, perhaps she also knew deep down in her heart that it was Eminem who did not let her get into trouble that was too big to be undone. Point sure enough, the little lightning bird's race value is extremely high. It's about 1200 race value, level 100, 150% growth value, 110%. Individual correction rate, plus, electrical, attribute awakening level 1. However, according to Eminem's estimation, this is still relatively low. The combat power is only less than 200,000, which is not even as good as the weak Tench group. Eminem guessed that if the big lightning bird did not seal the electrical attributes of the little lightning bird, it should be at least awakened at level 2, or even level 3. The high level would be Godhead. However, the great lightning bird sensed that it had boosted the power it had forcibly promoted, so it sealed its power back. Sure enough, it's a whitewash. Eminem muttered in a low voice. What whitewash? Dog humans. I don't need you to wash me, just wash yourself. The little lightning bird quickly flapped its wings. By the way, do you have a name? I mean, when you were in human society. Amu asked curiously. It is said that little lightning bird should have followed the gold hole master before. Well, I guess he will no longer be the hole master soon, and the Quartz Alliance will definitely hold him accountable. However, the impact is not too big now, and it cannot be determined that the little lightning bird is the main destructive effect. The responsibility of the gold gym leader is much smaller. It is estimated that he will lose his official gym qualifications and then be assigned to go out for a few years. Mazishi will definitely not have the opportunity to name the little lightning bird, and the little lightning bat will not give him a name, but the little lightning bat may have a name when it follows the owner of the golden hall. No. At that time, I spent most of my time digesting the power of thunder and lightning. Little lightning bird said angrily. Well, before little lightning bird followed the gold hole master, her mother was worried, so she helped her upgrade her electric power. Now it seems the digestion time is much longer than Eminem imagined. Then, let me give you a name. This will make it easier to communicate in human society. What do you think? Apostrophe little flash. Eminem said simply and clearly. It's ugly, it's ugly. If you must be called by your name before you can speak, just call me the great god of thunder and lightning. Little lightning bird said in delusion. No, no, no. The most important thing is that the name should be simple and easy to remember. Well, we met in a thunderstorm not far from the 4th island. Then, Eminem decided to use more snacks, and the little lightning bird also focused some attention at this time, only to hear Eminem continue to say, why don't I call you Leixi, asshole, dog humans, idiot, 4 eyes. The little lightning bird yelled manically, and with a lack of vocabulary. Just when the little lightning bird was sizzling, and electric energy was surging, Eminem quickly stopped her. No, everyone is still resting. Eminem had just finished speaking, and before he finished speaking, a sharp siren suddenly sounded from a distance. Eminem quickly followed the sound and looked out the window. It happened to be coming from the south, where the window was facing. Judging from the distance of the sound, it seemed to be outside the town. Could it be that Sachi guy has left and returned? Worried, Eminem immediately opened the door and left the room, only to find that King Kona was also coming out of the room. At this time, it seemed that he had temporarily put on clothes that were convenient for moving around. He must have just changed out of his pajamas, and his hair was still a little messy, and a look of frost on his face. King Kona, what happened? Amu asked quickly. Kona has long seen that Eminem and Sakaki are not the same person. Although Sakaki was full of praise for Eminem before, that is because, firstly, Eminem's contribution itself cannot be ignored, and secondly, Eminem's contribution cannot be ignored. I came here with the intention of winning over Eminem. So Kona also explained at this time. Then you have to ask that bastard Sakaki. After hearing this, Eminem also understood the direction in which the alarm sounded should be the direction of the warehouse lent to Sakaki. On the other side of the corridor, Yumi came out in pajamas and yawned. What happened? Amdo glanced at Yumi. Well, the pajamas with cute Pokémon patterns are indeed made by HMM. Wait, Kona should have borrowed this pajamas from her, right? There's no reason to pretend that you still have time to bring pajamas, right? Indeed, I have never seen her leave any luggage before. Before Amy could think about it, Kona had already said, you can rest assured. Just leave the matters on the frozen island to me, Kona said, and already walked out aggressively. But Eminem and Yumi obviously have no intention of resting at ease. Needless to say, Eminem immediately followed him downstairs, while Yumi immediately closed the door. Judging from the eagerness, it was obvious that she was not going back to rest, but to go back to change clothes. As for Xiaoxia and Yuanzi, they didn't wake up, and the alarm had stopped at this time. Eminem wanted to fly there directly on Xiaodian, but was rejected again. In desperation, Eminem had no choice but to release Noah, change the acceleration characteristic. I saw two gaps opening behind Noah's feet, and then two jets protruded from the inside. Eminem rolled over and sat on Noah, because Noah's size was much larger than the average polygon, so it was quite suitable. It's just that Noah is not at level 10 yet, and his strength is relatively weak. After Eminem sits on it, he can only float slightly and run not very fast. But under the acceleration feature, the engine behind gradually ejects, and the speed gradually increases over time. When he was almost there, Eminem caught up with Kona, who was riding the Ninetales in Alelan form. At the same time, I also saw this scene in the warehouse. Some of the people in white coats who should be the scientific research team led by Sakaki fainted on the ground, and some were trembling with fear for unknown reasons, and could not speak. What was even more conspicuous was, Sakaki died tragically on the ground, and the appearance of his death was very ugly. As if being attacked by some ferocious beast, the chest and abdomen were completely exploded. This level of ferocity is indeed terrifying in this world, and Kona also saw a little girl lifting up a shivering researcher, with red light floating in her eyes, as if she was hypnotizing. Naturally, Eminem recognized it. It was Nazi, who had not yet fully recovered. It seemed that she had just arrived, and was about to ask questions. Chapter 440. Cheomeng. Seeing Sakaki's body, before Kona had time to be surprised, he had already discovered something was wrong. What are you doing? Kona immediately shouted at the little girl. However, Eminem stopped him at this time. He understood that Nazi was probably using hypnosis to soothe the other party's emotions. What just happened? Nazi asked the researcher, who had calmed down. It escaped Mr. Sakaki. No, it was Lambda. Ram released it, the researcher said in panic. Apparently he has not fully recovered mentally. Huh? Are you? Kena frowned at this moment, seeming to recognize Naz's identity. But she obviously didn't understand why Nazi was like this. Lambda? After hearing this, Amu looked more at the tragically dead body. Sure enough, it can be seen that the face has been somewhat lifted. Although the researcher did not explain it clearly, Amu has already figured out part of what happened. Lambda should have used his ability to disguise himself to escape from control, and then came here and released some Pokémon. As a result, who killed him? Amu looked at the researcher at this time. It's out of control. Danger. The researcher held his head, still looking panicked. What happened to them? Eminem asked Nazi. It doesn't feel like a normal fright. Nazi looked at Eminem, when Ikacha curled her lips, and then said, psychic shock. From what they said, it seemed that Lambda had released some dangerous Pokémon. As a result, not only were the researchers present attacked, but Lambda was directly killed. Where's Sakaki? Kona asked impatiently. And Nazi ignored her at all. In fact, Nazi didn't know either, but not long after, Sakaki rushed back He was not present when the incident happened, but when Sakaki first arrived, it had just left, so Sakaki chased after it. They couldn't catch him for a while, and something unusual in the warehouse was discovered, and the patrols on Frozen Island triggered the alarm. Sakaki also knew that Kona would be there soon, so in order to prevent the situation from getting out of control, he hurried back. Sakaki. Kona had already put his hand on the Pokeball bag on his waist. Wait. King Kona, we should cooperate now. Sakaki said quickly. Look. What you have done? Damn it. Kona felt bad when he saw Lambda's body. Even Kona can't be completely sure now whether Lambda's death was really an accident or Team Rocket is here to play themselves after being silenced. Sorry, actually, I forcibly subdued the mythical beast in Viridian Forest. Well, it should be a cub of the mythical beast. It has been in a state of forcible restraint since then. Yesterday during the crisis on the Santino, I wanted to risk it, but it caused some problems with the restraint ball, so I came here to repair it. Sakaki admitted it to himself very openly at this time. Then the next thing will be very clear. The divine beast that was forcibly restrained was in a state of frenzy because of the restraint. As a result, Lambda did not know about this, and the restraint ball is essentially different from ordinary Pokeballs, and the restrictions above are lifted. Finally, the Pokemon inside will break free, so you don't need to open it yourself. Even the reason why he was in a hurry to start maintenance yesterday was because Sakaki felt that he was almost unable to stop it from breaking free. Lambda had no chance to escape, so he discovered this place. Later, in order to threaten or create chaos, Lambda lifted the restriction of the restraint ball on the divine beast. As a result, not only was he directly killed, but the researchers around him also suffered. Mythical beasts. Are there mythical beasts in Viridian Forest that humans have never seen before? Kona looked at Sakaki in disbelief. Humans know very little about mythical beasts, and there are no records of close observation of most of them. But, if only the appearance is recorded, there are still many. At least there are also ancient legends, murals and other supporting evidence. Especially the Viridian Forest. After all, it is surrounded by the entire Kanto area. Humans have lived here for a long time. It stands to reason that there are no unrecorded mythical beasts. It should be a subspecies of Mew. Sakaki said vaguely at this time. Mew? Kona was surprised at first, and then glared at Sakaki angrily. So, did you do some experiments with it? Otherwise, why would Mew be so violent? Dream is extremely famous in Kanto and the Quartz Alliance. According to legend, it can transform into any Pokémon at will. It is completely different from the laborious transformation of the variety monster. Because of its properties, it is considered by many people in the Quartz League to be the ancestor of all Pokémon. Of course, this statement is in great conflict with most Pokémon origin theories. Therefore, only the Quartz Alliance thinks so. For example, in the Sinnoh region and the Unova region, what is more widely accepted is the Creationism, which is based on Arceus. In addition, Mew used to be a large number of Pokémon. It is said that in ancient times, there were thousands of Mew in the Viridian Forest and the Xianguan Mountains, but now it is a very rare mythical beast. Some people even think that in the Alliance era the sighting records since then are all the same. Dream Mew has a very good temperament and will even play with children. Most of the sighting records are from children playing in the Viridian Forest. This is exactly why Kona is so angry now. Sakaki was stunned for a moment, then nodded. Indeed, in order to better understand the mythical beasts, we may have been a little too eager for success. This matter is indeed our fault. Eminem felt more and more strange on the sidelines. When did this guy Sakaki become so honest? At this time, shouldn't we say things like this guy is extremely vicious? I restrained him to prevent him from hurting. Look at it. It killed someone, etc. And a fantasy subspecies. What subspecies are there in Mew? Eminem's expression changed at this moment. Team Rocket, Dream, Experiment, Boss. Sakaki, you should have other information about that mythical beast here, right? We must find it as soon as possible. Show us the photos first. Eminem reminded at this time point Kona's eyes were also full of anger and anxiety. It would be bad if the mythical beast was in a manic state and wreaked havoc on the frozen island. Sakaki hesitated for a moment and then took out some photos from his arms. It was obvious that he had already prepared them. Eminem quickly came forward. Really, although the angles of many photos are a bit strange, and they are basically taken in the nutrition cabin, curled up, with eyes closed, Eminem can still tell at a glance, it is Muto. This is also the first time that Eminem has seen information related to Muto in this world. And Eminem is also 80% convinced that there are many lies in what Sakaki just said. The most important thing is that this is not what they captured in Viridian Forest, but it was created by the Rockets using the Dream Gene. Although Eminem doesn't know the main purpose of Sakaki's lie, the first priority now is indeed to find Muto. After all, it is not as simple as being slightly manic after being forcibly restrained for too long. In the original animations, comics, and games, the newly born Muto is a symbol of cruelty and even once wanted to counterattack mankind. Chapter 441. Is this your line? Muto, among the first generation Pokémon, is the strongest mythical beast and the most powerful Pokémon. It is also the most impressive and popular boss that impress the audience. It has appeared the most in all the previous theatrical versions. It is also the protagonist of the theatrical version and has also been remade. Reset the most. In the Mega era, along with Charizard, he was given 2 Mega forms, and his post-Mega racial value was also the highest among all Pokémon except for Infinite Gigantamax, and it was Super Muto and Muto Y are also the Pokémon with the highest physical attack and special attack respectively. It was born out of human experiments. Humans cloned the genes of Dream, but the thing that was born was completely different from Mew. Not only are their personalities and appearances different, but their abilities are also different. After his birth, Muto had a very violent temperament due to problems with his own definition and the memory of being experimented on. He not only cooperated with Team Rocket, but also later went it alone. Not only cloned a large number of Pokémon, but also developed a Pokeball that can forcibly restrain Pokémon with a trainer. However, after time traveling, Eminem did not see any news about Muto. Eminem is not surprised by this. After all, in the original work, Muto is an artificial Pokémon, and presumably it has not been created yet. And there is actually a dispute over who specifically created Muto. The most mainstream original work is naturally the setting in the original Muto's counterattack. The Rockets hired Dr. Fuji to create Muto. Dr. Fuji, because his daughter died young and wanted to use cloning technology, after resurrecting his daughter, he conducted the experiment of cloning Dream. Even Dr. Fuji did successfully create Little AI number 2 for a time. Little AI number 2 also preserved a consciousness similar to Zio AI in the form of a program, just like Noah's Ark to Hong Kong Tree. However, in the later reset version, Muto's settings were simplified, and the settings of Dr. Fuji and Zio AI no longer appeared in the game and the new version of the animation. Its creator, Old Man Fuji, has no direct relationship with Team Rocket. In addition, in the comic version, Muto was created by Ziobo from Red Lotus Island. In the live-action movie Detective Pikachu, Muto is controlled by a group original to the show. Therefore, Eminem was not sure before whether Muto in this world had anything to do with Team Rocket. Until now, Eminem saw the photo that Sakaki took out. Although the angle was a bit weird, Eminem had an impression of Muto, so he naturally recognized this thing at a glance. What makes Eminem a little confused is that Sakaki actually deliberately covered Muto. If Eminem hadn't already known what kind of mental state Muto was in, just listening to Sakaki's words, it would be like Team Rocket forcibly capturing some cup of the Mew subspecies in Viridian Forest, causing it to become violent under stimulation. This triggered the current murder. Logically speaking, this is not a beneficial thing for Sakaki. With his unreasonable character, it is very strange for him to do this, but Eminem also knows that now is not the time to get into Sakaki's heart. At this time, Yumi also arrived at the scene. Yumi had already become somewhat accustomed to the murder case. I'm a little uncomfortable with it. The murder scene today is so quiet. Normally there should be people making trouble. such as all kinds of appoint. Fortunately, Yumi doesn't have to solve the case this time. There were many witnesses. Regardless of the collusion of all members of Team Rocket, the murderer was the undiscovered mythical beast cub. At this time, Sakaki also made a request to Kona, Yumi and Eminem. Its character was originally very gentle, but it must have been caused by the stimulation of inappropriate experiments, coupled with Lambda's reckless desire to drive it, so it led to such a tragedy. So, halfway through Sakaki's words, the three of them looked at him suspiciously, and Kona even said unceremoniously, "You guy, do you have some conspiracy?" He doesn't hesitate to take the blame for himself and plead for mercy for the mythical beast. "Is this your line, so? I think this matter will end with Lambda committing suicide out of fear of crime." Sakaki said the ultimate goal. Amu looked at Lambda, who was lying aside. His chest and abdomen completely exploded by mental power and committed suicide. Kona instinctively wanted to refuse, but Yumi was already moved. After all, she is the real Junsha clan, and the Junsha clan in this world is a law enforcement profession, but the Junsha clan is not a law and the guardian of the truth, but the guardian of Pokémon, their highest sense of mission comes from preventing humans from using Pokémon for evil and severely punishing humans for crimes against Pokémon, since Sakaki himself said so. But just when Kona was about to question, the researcher witness on the side stood up and said under Sakaki's eyes, "No, yes, I saw it. Lambda committed suicide." Obviously, even if Kona doesn't cooperate, Sakaki will insist on doing so. And for Kona, the most important thing now is to find that dangerous, stressful mythical beast cub first. If it hurts anyone on the frozen island, I will blame Team Rocket and itself. Kona stated his bottom line, "Don't worry, I will definitely cooperate with you." Sakaki said calmly, "I'll go to the beach first and find some Pokémon that can help with the search." Eminem said. Sakaki's eyes lit up when he heard this and said, "Any Pokémon is fine, just looking for some seagulls." Eminem rolled his eyes at him. "Any Pokémon can listen to my command. I have already held your collar and asked you to tell the truth." Eminem is planning to use the ability of God of the Sea to call long-winged gull and big-billed gull. When he was on the Sunshino before, Eminem discovered that sea Pokémon not only include those in the water, but also include those that survive on the sea. The Pokémon on the island that prey on sea animals are also included, and in the waters of the Quartz Alliance, the easiest ones to find are naturally the big-billed gull family. Pokémon in the water, even if they are amphibious, are of little use now. After all, they are searching for the island point. Although the fourth island is not big, it has a large proportion of woods and mountains. Although the seagull type Pokémon's endurance, flying height, and eyesight are far inferior to those of the eagle type Pokémon, they can still fly, making searching more effective with half the effort. Yumi and Kona also left quickly, calling on the island's powerful trainers and Junsa to organize a search of the entire island, and told ordinary residents not to leave the town. Sakaki also mobilized the people of Team Rocket, and Aju also rushed over later, and he hesitated to speak, as if he wanted to ask something, but in the end he did not ask. Obviously, Aju didn't know anything about Mutuo. At most, he vaguely knew that boss Sakaki was working on a man-made mythical beast plan. After Aju also left, Sakaki took out a pocket watch. This pocket watch looks quite old, with the word Fuji engraved on the back. After Sakaki opened it, you can see that it is still a pocket watch with a painting. Inside is a photo of a little girl, which looks like only 4 feet. At the age of 5, the face of the woman holding her was blurred. At this time, except for Sakaki, there was only one person present. Boss, is the escaped Pokémon really? Little AI. Nazi couldn't help but ask when she saw Sakaki taking out his pocket watch. Although Nazi usually doesn't care about Team Rocket's affairs, on this matter, Nazi knows more. Sakaki looked hesitant for a while, then covered the pocket watch, then shook his head and said, "No, impossible. It's just a dream clone using human genes." Nazi didn't speak. She just wanted to ask, if it was just a clone, why did you lie just now? Chapter 442 Sakaki's past. Nazi usually does not participate in the affairs of the Rockets. The reason why she became the top cadre of the Rockets is purely because of her strength and being Sakaki's confidant. As for Aju and Masashi, they are both old people left by Mrs. Sakaki. For Natsu, Sakaki is like half of her father, although when Natsu met Sakaki, he was already in the Rockets, but he had not yet become the boss. However, because Sakaki would ask her to help solve some personal matters, especially when Sakaki had not yet become the boss, many things were inconvenient for the Rockets. Therefore, Natsu knows more about Sakaki's private affairs than Aju and Masashi, such as, Natsu knew that Sakaki had a daughter. Because Sakaki was an illegitimate child, he did not know his origin at first, so he took the surname Fuji from his wife in the Sinnoh region, Mrs. Sakaki was indeed kind to Sakaki, but she was also very strict with him. When she found young Sakaki 20 years ago, she ordered him to leave his wife and daughter. Sakaki's daughter was only 6 years old at that time point after all. Mrs. Sakaki wants to cultivate an heir, and a man who supports the family is not within the scope of her approval point, because the Fuji family was in poverty at the time, and Sakaki's wife suddenly became seriously ill. After Mrs. Sakaki agreed to fund his medical expenses, Sakaki agreed and followed Mrs. Sakaki's instructions, and left his wife and daughter without saying goodbye. Sakaki thought at the time that, as long as he established a firm foothold, he would be able to bring his wife and daughter over with him. But if nothing happened, after he inherited Team Rocket, he wouldn't have so many constraints, right? It was also for this reason, that a few years later, when Sakaki saw Nazi, who was about the same age as his daughter and was alone, he showed kindness to her later. When Mrs. Sakaki gradually delegated her power, Sakaki felt that the time had come. At least he was no longer dependent on others and everything he did would be known to Mrs. Sakaki. However, Sakaki was still cautious and asked Natsu to go to the Sinnoh region to find his wife and daughter, tell them his news, and ask them to wait a little longer. However, what Natsu brought back was the sad news that Mrs. Fuji had remarried and AI Fuji had died. It turned out that Mrs. Fuji did recover a lot after the operation. However, 2 years later, AI Fuji died unexpectedly at an early age. Mrs. Fuji lost her husband and daughter one after another. She was hit hard physically and mentally. Later, she married a man who accompanied her during this period. Regarding his wife's remarriage, Sakaki could not say anything, but regarding his daughter's unexpected death, Sakaki was furious. This also prompted Sakaki to become more and more iron-fisted. In Mrs. Sakaki's later years, Sakaki also had a small conflict with her. From this time on, some old people, including Masashi, became dissatisfied with Sakaki, thinking that he was ungrateful. At the same time, because Fuji AI's death had a small connection with the branch of the local violent organization Team Galaxy in Sinnoh, Sakaki planned to cause trouble in Sinnoh more than once, which made the relationship between Team Galaxy and Team Rocket very tense. Later, Mrs. Sakaki passed away, and Sakaki became the boss. Miyamoto, one of the 3 former cadres, disappeared while tracking Mew. This caused quite a stir. Masashi and Aji both thought at the time that Sakaki was behind the scenes, secretly liquidating veteran cadres. Aju even planned a small-scale, but very core rebellion at that time, but was counter-killed by Sakaki, who was well prepared. However, after restraining Aji, Sakaki revealed Miyamoto's diary to him, which proved that she was indeed the one who went missing after tracking Mew. It had nothing to do with Sakaki, and she did not pursue Aji. After that, Aji became Sakaki's fans. Even Masashi doesn't know about this. However, Natsu was naturally involved in person. After all, Natsu was the main combat force of the Sakaki faction at that time, and since then, Natsu has also inherited the position of one of Miyamoto's 3 major cadres, ranking alongside Aju and Masashi in the Rockets. After that, Sakaki found a ruins related to Mew, based on Miyamoto's diary, and found Mew's eyelash fossils inside. It was at this time that Team Rocket's secret plan to artificially clone the mythical beast began. After the experiment suffered a huge setback, Sakaki asked Natsu to go to Sinnoh again, and the purpose was to dig out Fujiai's bones, because she had personally participated in a series of things. Although Natsu didn't ask why, she had some vague guesses as to why Sakaki did what he did. Not long after that, Natsu also heard that everything went well with the experiment. But several years have passed, but the final result has not been released. There is also some criticism within the rockets. Fortunately, this experiment was kept secret. Sakaki did not use any of Team Rocket's original personnel. Most of the members of Team Rocket did not even know that such a thing existed. 8 years have passed since the time when Fujiai's bones were taken, and Natsu didn't know what happened to the experiment, but she knew that the results were not without success, but very dangerous. Lambda's suicide tonight also confirms this. How is her strength? Natsu knew that when Sakaki mentioned her, he always said her. Previously, he would specifically say it because it was in front of Kona and Yumi. Generally speaking, when referring to Pokémon or mythical beasts that have a lot of contact with human society, are highly intelligent, and have a way of thinking close to humans, you will use he or she, which will be more adaptable and appear close to you. Of course, it in this world is not a synonym for inferiority. The last time she broke away, Arfang was able to resist it alone. If we team up with Arbeo and Arbeo, we can suppress her, provided that I'm present. The presence, Sakaki said, naturally refers to stimulating mega evolution. Hearing such a random name again, Nazi rolled her eyes, finally remembering who the person was named after before. Lightning Bird can definitely handle it. Sakaki emphasized. Natsu nodded secretly at first, and then said with a stagnant expression, haha, I'm not caring about anyone, I'm just thinking about whether I can suppress her. Sakaki didn't say much, just reminded, it's better not to use your superpowers again until you recover. As for the person being searched for, no matter Kona, Yumi, or Sakaki, they have repeatedly emphasized that when there are clues, send a signal, and don't do it yourself. At this time, Amu was also at the beach, launching a large number of seagull-type Pokémon, flying into the forest on the island, and searching from the air. Only Eminem hopes that it will not enter the frozen waterfall cave, otherwise the too cold environment will make the long-winged gulls and big-billed gulls not want to go in, and even if they reluctantly go in, they will not be able to fly very far. Fortunately, Eminem didn't need to worry for too long. An hour later, a trainer discovered traces of Mewtwo. The first thing I heard was that when a trainer discovered it, Eminem broke into a cold sweat. Fortunately, Mewtwo didn't kill him, and when he left, he was dropped by a big-billed gull. Chapter 443 Cheomeng. After Xiaozi heard that something happened on the island, he immediately volunteered to help. In fact, Xiaozi didn't know what happened. After all, Kona found a familiar and capable trainer on the island to help. Yumi activated Junsa and Sakaki ordered Team Rocket, so it was impossible for them to find him. Xiaozi, however, after Xiaozi heard about what happened, he only knew that he was looking for a Pokémon that hurts people after being frightened, so he spontaneously came to help. Because Xiao Gang was a breeder, he was helping to take care of the Pokémon injured in the Sunchiano incident. He didn't know that Xiao Zhi was so courageous, and Xiao Heo, who had just recovered from his leg injury, was not afraid of anything. Go with Xiaozi without fear. In the forest, Xiaozi and Xiao Heo discovered Mewtwo by great luck. The weird look of Mewtwo startled both of them at first, and Pikachu was also furious. The frightened look of the two people also angered the already irritable Mewtwo even more. Fortunately, Xiaozi quickly returned to normal and began to try to communicate with Mewtwo, although I don't know why, it looks a little scary. But, thinking that it is an injured Pokémon, Xiaozi naturally responds. The ground became concerned. The power of the Wava Guide that Xiaozi unconsciously radiated calmed Mewtwo's mood a little, but at this moment, Xiao Heo unexpectedly made a magic move, throwing the elf ball. Of course, the result was that the ball was halfway through the air and was held in the air by Cheomeng with his superpower. And the next moment, Cheomeng raised his hand and flicked his fingers, and Xiao Heo flew out in a /U003E shape. Broke two trees. Seeing that Mewtwo was about to kill him, Xiaozi had no time to blame Zaoheo and immediately asked Pikachu to stop it. Although when facing Mewtwo, Paishen was fully equipped with various exclusive characteristics that make him stronger when encountering strength, he was still easily suppressed by Mewtwo just when Pikachu fell to the ground hard and Mewtwo stretched out a three-fingered palm towards it and was about to launch a wave missile to hit it. Zyozzy quickly pounced on Pikachu. Initially, Zyozzy thought he was dead, but the attack never came, and when he turned around to look, he found that the Pokémon was gone. Then Zyozzy immediately hugged Zaoheo, who was seriously injured Pikachu and only half breathed on his back, and hurried to a place where there were people. When Eminem heard about it, a trainer discovered Mewtwo and was seriously injured. Fortunately, it seemed that no one was killed. Then a winged gull came over to inform Eminem that a big-billed gull was following him. Mewtwo. Not long after Cheomeng, he also found a big-billed gull in the sky, flying around his head, so the next moment, Cheomeng teleported directly into the air and looked at the big-billed gull. Fortunately, at this moment, Eminem, who was riding Noah, also arrived and quickly shouted, "Wait, Eminem's wait a minute is actually of no use." But, along with wait a minute came a flying little lightning bird. Mythical beast. Divine beast. Let me see what kind of mythical beast you are. The little lightning bird bumped into him with lightning all over his body. On the way here, Eminem also talked to Lightning Bird about the current situation, and even told her more about what he knew, in order to prevent her from being careless. I heard that this mythical beast was cloned by humans. When Lightning Bird the bird suddenly became dissatisfied. Zyoshin didn't believe that humans could create mythical beasts. At this time, his fighting spirit was very high, not just because of Eminem's instructions. When Mewtwo saw this, he immediately ignored the big-billed gull and directly concentrated the spiritual energy on his tail, gathered it into a sharp blade, and flicked his tail to attack the lightning bird. Under the collision of electric power and superpower, a burst of air exploded in the air, and then they both bounced away. Then Mewtwo landed, and Zapdos followed it and flew lower. At this time, Eminem shouted quickly, "Wait. Don't do anything yet. Cheomeng, we don't mean any harm." Cheomeng turned to look at Eminem after seeing Mewtwo head on. The man's violent eyes, his body shape somewhat similar to that of a human, coupled with his powerful thick legs, huge tail, and body structure completely different from that of humans, all made Eminem instinctive. The ground is exploding. Maybe it's because of the momentum? Obviously other human-like Pokémon don't feel this way. Eminem also realized at this time that the photos in Sakake's hand had not been processed, but at least selected. Those eyes closed and huddled in the nutrition cabin made Mewtwo look harmless. Now compare it with the real thing. It is completely inconsistent. If you see the real thing, everyone will instinctively find that this is a dangerous guy. When Cheomeng saw Eminem's expression, he felt irritated again for no reason. He stretched out his hand to him and spread out 3 fingers, but at this moment, Zyada Feng struck it again with a crackling sound. Mewtwo immediately ignored Eminem, resisting while waiting for an opportunity to counterattack. One of the two is good at the electrical system and the other is good at the superpower system. When they fight, all kinds of energy are bombarded and flying around. Eminem is protected by Leocat. Although he is not afraid of stray bullets, he is still quite embarrassed. Eminem wanted to stop the fight at first, but Mewtwo ignored him at all, so Eminem took Noah back first, and took the opportunity to observe. Needless to say, little lightning bird, without the thunder clouds created by Thunder Feather, little lightning bird's arrogance is obviously not as impressive as when it was making waves on the sea. But in terms of combat effectiveness, it is firmly above the Great King line. Both moved extremely fast, but Eminem could barely tell that Mewtwo's movements were more rigid, as if he lacked combat experience. But whether it's energy blasts or body collisions, Cheomeng, who is gradually becoming more proficient, seems to have a small advantage. Before that, Eminem was actually skeptical. After all, Eminem knew that 99% of this Mewtwo was cloned by Team Rocket. Would it really have the strength of a mythical beast? Now it seems that at least I can have a touch with a mythical beast without Godhead. Of course, it can't compare to the top mythical beast in the original work. The little lightning bird seemed to have discovered this and immediately hovered at low altitude and began to bomb the opponent from a long distance point. Although Mewtwo can reach this height briefly by teleporting or simply taking off, he cannot fly after all. That's it? That's it? There are no mythical beasts that can't fly, so you're the only one who wants to return a mythical beast. The little lightning bat taunted point at this time. Mewtwo was getting higher and higher, jumping and teleporting again and again, but after being knocked back, because he could not move in the air, Mewtwo suddenly thought of something. He began to wrap himself with telekinesis, and then lifted up. At first, I saw that he was still a little too powerful, and was running wildly. Not only did he move strangely, he seemed to be a marionette controlled by an unskilled artist, and he even crashed into trees at every turn point. However, he gradually adapted to it, and began to fight stably suspended in the air. Eminem also saw at this time that Mewtwo was growing rapidly. At the beginning, Mewtwo's fighting movements were still very rigid, which allowed the little Zapdos to take advantage, after giving up the fierce attack and starting to use tricks. However, now Mewtwo's fighting has gradually become smoother. Not long after, the little lightning bird's physical strength was exhausted to a certain extent, and suddenly the thunder-like feathers all over its body exploded, and its aura suddenly increased. Not because it has violent lightning characteristics, but, after being injured, the original seal lifted, although it's still not as good as when it was making waves. It's still a little stronger than before. At this time, the golden electrical power in the air was constantly colliding with the pink and red and the black spiritual power. Eminem also shouted again, "Don't fight anymore." Chapter 444. Eminem now somewhat believes that Mewtwo escaped for the first time. At the beginning, he was not good at it. It could even be said that he was not used to fighting. However, as the battle progressed, his combat experience quickly accumulated. Gradually, he became able to skillfully use his mind power to stay in the air and fight. Under Cheomeng's tenacious consumption, the little lightning bat triggered his mother's seal, and his electric attributes suddenly awakened and improved. Eminem jumped out quickly at this time, trying to stop the two sides from continuing to fight. "Mewtwo, we are not enemies," Eminem shouted from below. "Cheomeng?" Cheomeng vaguely remembered that when he was restrained before, there seemed to be people in white coats around him calling himself this, because the little Zapdos saw that Mewtwo was not yet proficient in aerial combat. He tried to raise the fighting height as much as possible. However, at this time, Mewtwo suddenly descended and flew towards Eminem, and the little Zapdos was immediately thrown away. I saw Cheomeng quickly approaching Eminem. When he came in front of him, he flicked his tail. Judging from the range of this movement, Eminem judged that it was trying to control himself with its tail at this time, but at this moment, a wall of light with dragon scale stripes appeared around Amu's body, flicking its tail away. Cheomeng was stunned when he saw this. Originally, he wanted to restrain Amu first, but he didn't expect, so Cheomeng was so angry that he hit Eminem with a double peak piercing the ear and a flanking attack from both sides of his palms. Looking at the 6 fingers of both hands, telekinesis energy is emerging from each root. When they touch the dragon scale light wall around Eminem, causing the 6 points to tremble continuously, you can tell that Cheomeng is very serious. It even caused the 2 sides of the dragon scale light wall to be squeezed inward. Don't get excited. I just want to talk to you. As soon as Eminem finished speaking, Mewtwo was already super excited and gave him a headbutt. Moreover, spiritual energy was flashing on his forehead. It was obviously not an ordinary head hammer, but a ideal hammer. Duang knocking against the light wall. It even dented the light wall, bringing it closer to Eminem. At this time, little lightning bat discovered that Cheomeng was targeting Eminem and was about to come back, but was stopped by Eminem. At this moment, Eminem and Cheomeng looked at each other through the light wall, and at the same time, Eminem stretched out his hand and placed it on Cheomeng's head through the light wall. Animal sense is activated instantly. Originally, Eminem was worried about whether animal sense would be effective on cloned Pokémon. Especially now, Mewtwo seems to be very resistant. However, after actually launching it, Eminem found that the effect was surprisingly good, and the two sides instantly connected with each other. Eminem's consciousness blurred for a while, and then he found that he and Muto's consciousness appeared in an empty space at the same time. The feet are like water, reflecting Eminem and Muto. Where is this? Let me out. After Cheomeng came to his senses, he bared his teeth at Amu. Eminem could tell that this was the sound of real vocal cord vibration, not telepathy. Of course, now that the two are communicating at a conscious level, they definitely don't really have vocal cords. It's just that Muto's consciousness and instinctive use of this voice to speak shows that it can really speak. I didn't bring you here. This should be your consciousness. Eminem wasn't very sure either. The next moment, Eminem and Cheomeng fell into the water at the same time. The water surface that had been treading very honestly suddenly spread apart. Under the rolling bubbles and the liquid-like touch, Eminem and Muto could still see each other, but immediately after the feeling of drowning came over, the two people each saw something. In a trance, Eminem felt he being placed in a nutrition cabin, with various instruments connected to his body, and people outside speaking in clear words. The next moment, I felt I was lying on the hospital bed again. Then the surroundings became blurry. I seemed to be playing on the grass, and in this blur, someone seemed to be calling me. Eminem was also confused at this moment. In the first scene, Eminem can understand that it should be the creation of Cheomeng. And where is the memory of the previous, dreamy memory? It's a bit too human-like, right? Moreover, the degree of blur makes it impossible for Eminem to tell the difference. It is estimated that Muto also has such a blur of this memory. Only the memory, after being created, is relatively clear. The reason why he can't hear what is said outside is because Cheomeng hasn't learned to speak at that time, so naturally he can't remember what people outside are saying. In addition, Eminem feels that there will indeed be waves of higher feelings. It reminds Eminem that in the setting, Muto's violence comes from genetic defects, making it the most ferocious Pokémon, and Cheomeng at this time. Then he found himself in an endless land. And unlike Eminem, Cheomeng could clearly feel that he was still Cheomeng, rather than experiencing other people's experiences. Now there are no experiences or memories here, just a piece of land and the moon in the sky. Eminem's animal sense should only be effective on Pokémon in this world. While Muto was cloned from Mew, it also added genes from humans, that is, from Eminem's kind. This caused some inexplicable reactions in the animal perception, showing that the two parties could effectively communicate with each other in an instant. But Eminem is protected by the power of God's path, and Cheomeng cannot peek into Eminem's memory, so Eminem has a one-sided understanding of Cheomeng. And what Cheomeng saw in Eminem was only the embodiment of the sequence of gods. At the same time, Cheomeng was so manic that he thought he was trapped and began to run hard, but there was no end to the earth. The earth, which represents the mother, absorbs all of Cheomeng's negative emotions. As he runs, Cheomeng's mania is consumed bit by bit, and the tranquility of the moonlight also entered Cheomeng's heart at this time. After all, this is an abnormality caused by animal sense, and it has a powerful soothing effect on Eminem's target. I don't know how long it took, but Eminem woke up in a blur and chaos, and Cheomeng finally calmed down temporarily. The two people first appeared in the water together. Then the buoyancy of the water suddenly increased, and the two people were topped back to the surface. The next moment, both Eminem and Cheomeng were bounced out, and their consciousness returned. The two of them were still in the forest of the frozen island. Their postures had not changed, but the skills they used were gone, and they turned into a simple Muto hugging Eminem, while Eminem stroked Muto's head. Both sides were stunned for a moment, and then both instinctively took a step back. The little lightning bad was also very confused. Why did he hug him suddenly? That strange guy became quiet after that. Chapter 445 Friends. What did you do? Cheomeng stared at Eminem warily. We are not enemies after all. Eminem didn't quite understand now, but he still comforted Cheomeng first. At the same time, Eminem also vaguely noticed that Cheomeng was not as manic as before. Although the cruelty inherent in his bones is still there, at least the stress is gone. Enemy, person, not an enemy. Then, whose enemy am I? Cheomeng asked in a daze. Half of Muto's ferocity comes from the emotional instability caused by genetic defects, and the other half comes from its unclear definition of itself. Even if the stress response disappears, it is only a little more controllable and able to think, but it does not mean that the temper has improved. Perhaps because of the previous influence of animal sense, Cheomeng had some feelings for Eminem's mother aura, and at this time he had some desire to talk about it. After all, as the saying goes, talk about the troubles in life with your mother. No, you don't have to be anyone's enemy. Amu shook his head quickly, feeling that his method of finding his own position was a bit biased. Whose enemy are you not? Oh, you can be not your enemy, because you know who you are without enemies, and I have no parents. Cheomeng said in a confused tone. What? A coincidence? Neither do I. Eminem quickly answered. Cheomeng ignored him, but continued to say vaguely, I'm still made by humans. Well, generally speaking, humans should be the same, right? It's just a matter of whether the manufacturing process can be described in detail. Eminem continued. Cheomeng continued to say with forceful ignorance, I don't know the meaning of my life. Not many people know. Under Eminem's continued interruptions, Cheomeng couldn't get any further. He turned to glare at Eminem and said, but me, since it exists, it must have a meaning of existence. Existence itself has meaning. Eminem shrugged. You and I are different, Cheomeng said angrily and disappointedly, and worried that Eminem would continue to answer, he added, you have no future, Slim Shady. Why did you attack me personally? Eminem said helplessly. Seeing that Cheomeng was about to leave, Eminem quickly stopped him and said, wait, where are you going? Searching for the meaning of my existence. What? You want to stop me? Cheomeng said coldly. Eminem hesitated for a moment, but then did not forcefully stop him. After all, in the original work, Muto was only in trouble at the beginning, and after a counterattack, he appeared as a teammate. Originally, Eminem was anxious, just because he saw Lambda's tragic death, and worried that Muto was in a red-eye state, but now it seems that it has stabilized a bit. No. I just want to tell you, no matter what, life is precious, whether it's yours, other people's, or other Pokemon's. Also, if you need any help, you can come to me, Mew said sincerely. Looking for you? Why? Cheomeng asked bluntly. Well, we can be considered friends, right? I love making friends. I, the trainer, part-time pharmacist, and Eminem's friend will be your first identity, Eminem said carelessly. Muto didn't answer, but Amu vaguely saw it and nodded, not sure if it was an illusion. Then Cheomeng burst out with superpower all over his body, turning into a reverse meteor and flying away. Mythical beast. That's it? I'd say she's not a mythical beast. Little lightning bird immediately started taunting Muto after he left. She is about the same as you, right? Amu was surprised at first, and then asked naturally. The little lightning bird was so jostled that he paused for a moment before retorting, I'm a descendant of a mythical beast. After hearing this, Eminem also noticed something strange. Yes, the little lightning bird is a descendant of a mythical beast, so it is not surprising to have such strength, and Cheomeng is not a descendant of any mythical beast, and there should be only such a superhero in the world. Dream, and she is not strong enough to be a mythical beast. If Muto is a mythical beast, then the little lightning bird is definitely no match. As Sakaki said, it is easy to say that Muto is a subspecies of Mew, which proves that she is also a descendant of a mythical beast, but Eminem knows that Sakaki must be lying, so that means that Muto shouldn't be considered a mythical beast now. Is it just a relatively strong Pokemon among the king level ones? This is not just a matter of strength, but involves the definition of the mythical beast. In other words, does Muto's race value exceed 600? Leoka, is the Muto just now considered a mythical beast? Old card? Eminem asked first, and then found that Leoka seemed to be wondering about something, and ignored him. After a while, Kenna and Arju arrived at the scene first. Amu didn't send a signal. It was just the movement during the battle that drew them here. After all, the frozen island is not that big. The fight between Cheomeng and the little lightning bat just made so much noise Naturally, someone would notice it and notify them later. Escaped by it? Or, when Kona saw the signs of fighting around him, he knew that Amu must have discovered the other party, so he didn't ask if he had discovered it. But now I don't see any opponent here. In other words, he either ran away or was conquered, right? After all, Eminem has the help of little lightning bird. If the opponent is not strong enough, it is not impossible. Of course, this is because Kona doesn't understand Mutuo, otherwise he would understand that Mutuo cannot be conquered by ordinary Pokeballs. Let's go. I think we have left the frozen island. Amu said honestly. Leave. It can fly? Kona didn't even frown. Not only did it not have wings in the previous photo, but Sakaki said it couldn't fly. She has a strong learning ability. When fighting the little lightning bird, she learned to use her telekinesis to stay in the air and move. Eminem explained. Huh? She's a superpower type? Kina felt even more weird. Ordinarily, this shouldn't be something she learned temporarily, right? If it were a super type beast, it shouldn't have this kind of skill. But thinking about it carefully, Kona suspected that the mythical beast was injured at Team Rocket's place, so it didn't fly. Arju felt helpless after hearing this. If Eminem hadn't lied, after Cheomeng discovered the technique of using psychic power to stay in the air, its range of activities is no longer limited to this island. Even if he tried to find her later, it would be useless. It seemed that his loss was in vain this time. Kona, on the other hand, breathed a sigh of relief and left. Moreover, according to Eminem, her mood has stabilized a bit. Now that she has left the frozen island, there is no need to worry about her hurting anyone on the island. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 446 Target City. Mr. Eminem is indeed a talented person and a role model for our young generation of trainers in Kanto. Is Suzuki Group the sole investment in Mom Classroom now? In fact, this kind of independent research laboratory would be more conducive to development by receiving more other investments. In fact, our Rockets Group has always been very concerned about the development of the pharmaceutical industry. Amu, are you going to the Johto area from now on? Well, the Rockets also shoulder important social responsibilities in the Johto area. If you have any trouble in the Johto area, you can find the local Rockets, especially Kaili Yubo from G-Town. He is the person in charge of our Rockets in the Chengdu area, and he has always liked the new generation of young trainers. Well, the plane to the Johto area has been arranged. I'll take you there first. Let's go to Roy Town to settle down first. Right, when? Hahaha, just leave when it's convenient for you. The day after tomorrow? Okay. After some greetings, Sakaki left Eminem's room. Kona was watching him leave outside. After all, this was Kona's research institute, and Kona was as guarded against him as if he were a thief. Eminem doesn't know why, but he always feels that this guy Sakaki is very attentive. Eminem also thought about it. Could it be this guy who suspected that he actually conquered Mutuo, but didn't want to give it back to him? Or is it because my conscience finally found out that I regretted cheating when I drew lots, but Eminem managed to cope with it, and it was already almost noon before, while Eminem was waiting for midnight snacks, Lambda committed suicide. As a result, it was delayed until lunchtime. When Sakaki left, he seemed to say hello to Kona in a friendly manner, as if he met her by chance, but Kona responded with complete indifference. Eminem, you are a trainer with great potential, and this guy Sakaki is absolutely untrustworthy. Don't be fooled by some performances. After Kona hesitated, he reminded Eminem firmly. Naturally, Eminem responded repeatedly, saying that Sakaki and others were not familiar to him in the first place. Sakaki, who left at this time, felt a little more relieved. Judging from the test just now, Eminem probably did not catch Mutuo, and he did not carry a restraining Pokeball with him. In this way, Sakaki felt a little grateful for Eminem's cover-up. According to Eminem, Mutuo calmed down on his own, and it really didn't look like a cruel beast before. It's just a stress reaction. Sakaki doesn't think it's Eminem's misjudgment. Sakaki knows very well that any trainer who has had close contact with Muto will not think that she is normal or kind. For example, a guy who was seriously injured in an attack is now lying on the hospital bed talking nonsense. Sakaki was also thinking about whether to shut him up. After all, he was on the frozen island, so he still had to think more about it. Eminem would say this. He must be deliberately covering up for Muto. Originally, Sakaki was worried that Eminem might have caught Muto. After all, Eminem has a little Zapdos, and he might also get unknown help from the giant fast dragon. However, through previous conversations, Sakaki has also determined that Eminem did not catch Muto, and he also found out Eminem did comfort Muto, so Muto would leave, and Eminem would cover it up. Although Sakaki also heard that this kid was secretly warning him not to have any more ideas about Muto, Sakaki was generally relieved and grateful to Eminem. After that, Eminem stayed on the frozen island for another 2 days. During these 2 days, most of the passengers had been sent back to the Kanto area by passenger planes dispatched by Team Rocket. The Sanchiano incident has also been spread, and it exploded directly without fermentation. The so-called unsinkable Santino actually sank in a violent attack. This is definitely big news in the Pokémon world, and Junsha is actually involved behind it. At first, everyone didn't believe it, thinking it was a frame up by some conspirator, but later they discovered that the official museum owners and Quartz Alliance personnel on the ship all agreed on this. Even other Junsha on the ship, although they did not directly testify, but he also gave consistent testimony and did not refute it. As a result, not only the Galaxy team and the Junsha clan bear the brunt, but the pressure also comes to the SYNOPSIS Alliance, with no excuse. SYNOPSIS not only has to bear the claims of the passengers, but also has to pay special compensation to the Quartz Alliance. Similarly, internally, the Quartz Alliance also wants to appease Sakaki. The position of Kanto champion is basically stable, and it just needs to wait. Officially announced. Not to mention the Galaxy, Saki was originally there undercover, and it was his duty to cause trouble for the Rockets. Although Cherry has now discovered that the bastard Saki obviously has another identity, he did not bring it up to talk about it, otherwise it would be suspected of showing weakness. Akari didn't want to be the champion of SYNOPSIS, so he just showed off. On the surface, he didn't admit it, but in fact, his attitude was Sakaki, what can you do to me? But Junsha can't have such an attitude. An investigation was launched immediately, but it was a pity, because Leixi was directly silenced, and Leixi's residence was also bombed afterwards, so nothing was investigated at all. Of course, the fact that nothing was investigated is a clue in itself. Leixi's matter was indeed not just a figment of her own mind. It's just that, even if the investigators of the Junsha clan do their best to investigate, they still can't determine whether Leixi has really been corrupted by Team Flare, or he has been misled by someone else. Within the Junsha clan, they tend to prefer the latter. After all, Leixi behaves as if she has also been deceived, but it cannot be ruled out that she is acting. Therefore, in order to minimize the impact of this matter, the Junsha clan also made many concessions, not only to the Quartz Alliance, but also to other major alliances. The Junsha headquarters of the major alliances have dual responsibilities. They are both subordinate departments of the alliance. However, because the content of the Junsha clan is too high, everyone knows that they will also be controlled by the Junsha clan. On the other hand, in order to save some reputation, the Junsha clan naturally vigorously promoted Yumi. When her boss was suspected of colluding with the enemy, Yumi did not succumb to authority. Instead, she did her best to direct other Junshas to rescue, minimizing the effect of Leixi's collusion with the enemy. Who says Junsha doesn't know Chunkyo calligraphy? The reason why Yumi was able to command Sinogunsa was because Leixi had realized something was wrong at that time, voluntarily withdrew from the command, and delegated power to Yumi. Being promoted by the Junsha clan is to emphasize that most people in the Junsha clan have a sense of justice. You don't have to worry about a small number of Junshas being corrupted. There will be other Junshas who will supervise and correct their mistakes. Originally, Yumi was going to travel around the world for a whole year. After returning, there was a high probability that her position would be able to move again. This would be considered a prosperous official career, as A result, he was directly received by the headquarters of the Junsha clan and vigorously promoted it. Moreover, the Saint Tenu sank, so there was no need to wait for the world tour to end. Before Eminem left the frozen island, he heard that Yumi not only skipped a level and was directly promoted to the Quartz Alliance Junsha police chief, but also took the position of Junsha headquarters investigator system. The reason why Eminem stayed for 2 more days was to say goodbye to Xiaoxia. Yuanzi and the other Xiaoxia will return to Cerulean City. Later, while Yuanzi and Xiaolan, although they have plans to go to the Johto area, they encountered a shipwreck and were greatly frightened, so they had to go home to rest. First point, however, seeing that it was already mid-October, Eminem was not ready to rest anymore. After reporting his safety to Grandma Rexy and Sister King Mui, Eminem was ready to go directly to the Johto area. Chapter 447 Acquaintance. Alliance Year 200, October 15th. Amu finally arrived in the Johto area. Eminem didn't expect that it was actually a special plane. In order to avoid trouble, Eminem not only refused the hospitality of the local rockets, but also wore sunglasses and immediately left the airport where he landed. Indeed, what Sakaki said before was that everyone would be sent to the major cities in Kanto. Normally, they would not be sent to the Johto area. I just knew that Eminem was coming to Chengdu, so I specially arranged a flight to send only Eminem and Zioai. At this time, Eminem came to Wakaba town in the capital. In terms of pure straight line distance, it is the closest to Kanto. However, in terms of difficulty of access, it is not easy to get to Kanto. Roy Town is located in the southeastern corner of the Johto area, across the sea from the southwest corner of the Kanto area, but this sea route is still blocked by Guansheng Falls, so in ancient times, there were not many connections here. Kanto and Sinnoh are on the same continent. If you want to come to the city, you have to take the northern land route, which means passing through large areas of virgin forest and Gobi. The entire urban area, the east, especially the northeast, is more mountainous and sparsely populated, while the center and northwest are densely populated. Culturally, it has been deeply influenced by the Sinnoh region and the Kanto region since ancient times, and the local culture is weak. This is also an important reason why the Quartz Alliance can pick two at once. In the northeast, south of the Lake of Anger, the town centered on Kaji City has a strong ninja cultural atmosphere. This is the reason why some immigrants from the Earth Kingdom crossed the Silver Mountains. Crossing the Lake of Anger, immigrants came to the Johto area, creating a cultural atmosphere. The Enju city in the north, which is said to have been the habitat of the Howking, was also deeply influenced by the ancient Sinnoh ancestors. The Shendu ruins further north were also established by the ancient Sinnoh people. Asena City on the western coast and Azure City on the western peninsula, as you can tell by their names, are places deeply influenced by the Kanto region. Platikadan City and Manjin City in the center, Hupi City in the south, and Yanmo City in the mountains in the northeast are ancient settlements of the local ancestors of the city, except for the closed locations in the mountains in the northeast. The others are concentrated in the center. South. Since ancient times, culture has been influenced by the Kanto and Sinnoh regions, so after some competition, the Quartz Alliance became the only alliance spanning the two regions. When the alliance era was established, the situation in Xianguan continent was also very complicated. As far as the Old Kingdom is concerned, the kingdoms in Xianguan continent are fragmented and weak compared to the old kingdoms in Hezhang, Kalas and other places. Moreover, before the Alliance era, Galaxy Team had already prospered in the Sinnoh region, and the Galaxy Team at that time could be said to be the founder of Pokémon research with a modern perspective. On the contrary, in the early days of the major alliances, many the system is learned from the Galaxy Team. Therefore, many people still think that Galaxy Team is different from ordinary violent groups. At that time, the whole world entered the era of alliance, and the old kingdoms were overthrown one after another. Most of the old kingdoms on the main body of Xianguan continent were killed by the Galaxy Team, and even the overseas Fingyuan and Galaxy Team were involved. However, after all, the concept of Galaxy Team was inconsistent with the alliance at that time, and it did not join forces with the Junsha clan and the Joai clan, and was even hostile. Therefore, in the end, not only did the Quartz Alliance dominate the two major regions, But even the home base of the Galaxy team was also ruled by the newly emerged Sinnoh Alliance. Now the Galaxy team has become a grey area, of course. The original founder of the Sinnoh Alliance, some of them are dissidents in Team Galaxy, and have joined forces with the Junsha clan and the Joai clan. The current Galaxy team can be said to be the legacy of the losers in the original Galaxy team. In essence, the Quartz Alliance and Team Rocket can maintain their influence over the Johto area, which is also the consequence of all parties being happy to see Team Galaxy being suppressed. At least that was the case in the early days of the Alliance, and it continues to this day. That is, convention point. When Eminem walked out of the airport and onto the street, he didn't feel too unfamiliar in terms of architectural style or humanistic features. Even his accent was similar to that of Zigwan Point, although Wakaba Town is theoretically the closest town to Kanto, because Kanto Falls cannot be navigated normally. Only some trainers can travel between the two areas with the help of Pokémon, and there is no public transportation. If you want to travel between Kanto and Johto via the Southern Sea route, most people will choose the two base cities of Kuai City, Johua City. Eminem chose Roy Town not just for fun, but because he had to start his journey to the Johto area at the first stop of the protagonist in this game. Mainly because, since he came to the Johto area, Amu decided to at least visit various places. Moreover, Roy Town is in the southeast corner of the entire Johto area, and then goes north into the mountains until the northernmost Yanmo City. Although the mountainous terrain is not easy to walk, and there are no large cities, before arriving at Yanmo City. But the good thing is that you can find little elephant and baby bear in the mountains, and after arriving in Yanmo City, you can go further north in the snowfields and caves in the north, and you can find Nira and little mountain boar. These are all Pokémon that have evolved to have extraordinary strength, and their attributes are also very suitable for Eminem. The only drawback is that, after arriving in Yanmo City, Amu will probably have to take a plane out. The mountains in the eastern part of the city only have a relatively flat valley to the south, and Yanmo City only has this one approach on land. Exit. Backtracking does not make much sense to Eminem. Now Eminem carries with him a Garrick and Nido, whom he had conquered in Kanto, as well as the hatched Clean, Leoben and Noah. The little Zapdos is in the special bowl processed by her mother, and does not occupy Eminem's position. In addition, Noah is usually in the USB flash drive, so Eminem's elf ball usually has two positions. For now, it takes the Ghost, Stone and Pippi. After arriving in Roy City, Eminem took a taxi to the Pokémon Center to take a rest and buy necessities tomorrow, before setting off again. The previous luggage had also sunk with the Santanu. I don't know when the compensation advanced by the Olympic Alliance will arrive. Arriving at the Pokémon Center, Eminem was about to check in when he suddenly heard a familiar voice coming from behind. Hey, our great trainer is finally here. After hearing this, Eminem turned his head and didn't recognize this person at first glance. However, Eminem was wearing sunglasses at this time and was recognized, so he must be a familiar person. Speaking of acquaintances in Johto, is it Mr. Guangxi? We haven't seen each other for a few months. He looks a lot younger. Are Mrs. Mian and Xiaoxin doing well? Eminem reacted immediately. Little Wolf, who is Mr. Guangxi? Madam, I'm Xiaolang. Xiaolang looked at Eminem speechlessly. Little Wolf. Amu was stunned when he heard this. You're not just pretending not to recognize me because you lost to me, are you? Chapter 448. That man. So it's the Little Wolf. Really, I almost didn't recognize him after I changed my clothes. Ha ha ha. Eminem smiled innocently. After all, Eminem is not a petty person. How could he pretend not to recognize Xiaolang? It was all because he was wearing normal clothes that Eminem didn't recognize him at a glance. Hey, I didn't expect you to be here too. It seems that you really have some sense of the clo card. Xiaolang looked at Eminem with some confusion at this time. This person obviously has no magic power. Kuro card? Did you find it? Amu was surprised when he heard this. Little Wolf. Aren't you here for the clo cards? Xiaolang looked at Eminem questioningly. I just heard rumors that there was a person from Johto who, after becoming a wizard in Galar, returned to Johto and made the clo card, who would make a special trip just for this rumor. Eminem said as a matter of course. Little Wolf Club, because there was a prophecy in his family that the Clocards would be separated at about this time and would need to be reunited, otherwise something terrible would happen. Originally, Xiaolang only knew that Kurorido was a quartz man, so he went to the Kanto area. However, when Eminem was with Xiao Gang, he heard rumors that a certain magician was from Johto. The combination of the two, Eminem had a little guess in his mind and guided Xiaolang to Chengdu. I did find traces of the Clocard. Do you want to come with us? Xiaolang asked proactively. Amu looked at Xiaolang in surprise. He didn't remember that Xiaolang was so generous before. He obviously refused to learn magic by himself. Ahem. I found that you are quite talented in magic. Xiaolang coughed twice. You don't need help? Eminem's expression gradually became more cautious as for why you looked for Eminem. Nonsense. After the Santino incident, everyone knows about Little Zapdos following Eminem. Okay, even though the Little Zapdos had no godhead in the first place, and now its attributes have been sealed, but it is still a great king level Pokémon, and there are not many people Xiaolang can ask for help. If you don't come, forget it. Haha, need help? Those who didn't know would have thought you were the runner-up. Xiaolang refused to give up and turned around. It just so happened that Eminem was also very interested in the Clocard. He didn't know what the Crocard would be like in this world, so he caught up and said, wait, we can cooperate, and I didn't say no. I also feel like I'm super talented. After the little wolf was coaxed, he took out a compass and said, this is an ancestral inheritance from my family, something that can discover the magic power of Kurorido. Huh? Why is it flashing? Eminem asked when he saw this. This shows that there are Clocards not far away, and judging from the intensity of the reaction, there are more than one. In other words, it should not be the Clocards that are randomly opened, but the wizard who is collecting the Clocards. Wolf said very seriously. So, Eminem looked at Xiaolang with some doubts. Aren't you scared? You didn't even look for it, but you still squatted to help. Oh, you don't even know who Clorido is. Anyone who collects Clocards is likely to be a dangerous person. Xiaolang said confidently. Huh. At this moment, Eminem's mind was filled with the image of Sakura hitting people with a pink hammer. Clorido is indeed a great wizard, but 20 years ago, in the wizarding world, there was a... Forget it, you don't know, even if you tell me. Xiaolang said with a sense of superiority point, and when he said this, Eminem really thought of something. Speaking of which, it seems that the Clorido in this world is not only the character of the powerful magician in Cardcaptor Sakura, but also the character of Slytherin, one of the founders of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Character. Being able to be related to Slytherin made Xiaolang remain silent, and even made the reputation of Slytherin, who was originally the founder of the academy, become something that people don't want to mention. The answer seems to be ready. It seems that the wizard trainers in this world have already experienced the Voldemort period. So at this time, the person who collects the power of Slytherin will make people fearful and worried about whether it is another Voldemort, especially regarding Voldemort, there is also a prophecy of the Dark Lord's resurrection, which may even make people worry. Is it the resurrected Voldemort himself, collecting Clocards? At this time, Eminem made up his mind again, wearing a magical girl's clothes without a nose, and waving a pink hammer. Are you scared? Xiaolang asked disdainfully. No, it's just a little uncomfortable. Eminem felt that his whole body was not well. But then Eminem said, hurry up and use it. Don't worry, if it's a dangerous guy, I'll release the bird, and he told Xiaoai beside him, after I opened the room, you can rest here first. I will come back as soon as I go. Little Wolf looked at Eminem and then said stiffly, then I'll let you see it. After some fiddling, the compass began to point. The two looked at each other and then started to trot along the compass instructions. Neither Eminem nor Xiaolang knew their way very well, so they quickly ran to the vicinity of Daodaosi shopping mall. This area is a business district. Don't do anything here, Amu said quickly. Of course I know. It's not here. It should be in the back, Xiaolang said after fiddling with the compass again. Even if it's an enemy in a while, don't rush to take action. At least lead him to an open place. Amu emphasized. Xiaolang remained silent, obviously not used to accepting commands, but he acquiesced and did not refute. The two came to a nearby secluded alley, and then I saw a girl wearing a black student uniform and a white skirt standing there, as if waiting for someone. The little wolf immediately stared at her. The other party noticed the little wolf's gaze and couldn't help but feel awkward. But the little wolf didn't realize how strange his behavior was, so he continued to fiddle with the compass, and then I saw that the pocket on the girl's upper body was glowing with light. Ah, this is. The girl looked at Xiaolang in surprise. Sure enough, the claw card is at your place, right? Xiaolang asked quickly. How do you know? The girl asked in surprise. Leave it to me. Xiaolang stretched out his hand shamelessly. I don't want to. The girl felt that this man was confused. Then I saw that the little wolf was very rude and wanted to grab it directly. The girl naturally wanted to push him away. At this moment, Sakura, who are you? Why did you bully Sakura? Another girl rushed over at this time and asked angrily. After seeing this, then he looked warily at Eminem, who might be his accomplice. That's right, that man. If you do this again, I will repay Junsha. Seeing that it was not Voldemort, Eminem immediately rebelled, as if he was not familiar with Xiaolang. Little Wolf. Chapter 449. A little bit. Xiaolang was very dissatisfied with Eminem's treacherous behavior, but the people who were collecting claw cards didn't look like Death Eaters, let alone Voldemort. The little wolf felt relieved and didn't need Eminem's help. Hand over the claw card. This is something you can't control, Xiaolang said directly. Although he felt magic in Sakura, but it was too little. I don't want it, Sakura said matter-of-factly, and added, I promised Kerberos that I would collect all the claw cards. Kerberos? Corbalus has woken up. How could that make you so half-hearted? Sioran looked at Sakura questioningly. Hey, what do you mean by half-baked? Who are you? You say outrageous things right from the start. Sakura looked at Sioran with dissatisfaction. Me? You don't need to worry about. He is the descendant of some relative of Colorido, Amu revealed at the side. Little wolf. Indeed, the wolf cub comes from the lineage of Colorido's mother. Is that so? Sakura was stunned when she heard this and suddenly felt that the other party's request for the claw card was not completely unreasonable. How many claw cards have you collected now? Xiaolang asked directly with a straight face. 7. Sakura said guiltily. What? It must have been 2 months, right? There were only 7. Xiaolang looked disdainful. He knew the approximate time when the claw cards were scattered. Sorry. Sakura was so shocked that she felt bad all over. What are you talking about? Do you know how hard Sakura works? The long, straight black girl who came before said with some indignation. Eminem estimates that she must be Tomoyo, that is, the eldest lady of the Prodigy group, in terms of age. Tomoyo and Sakura are indeed the same as Sioran. They should be around 16 or 17 years old. Xiaolang was overwhelmed by this punch, and then Eminem said, and since everyone's goal is to collect the Kuro cards again, wouldn't it be better if we all cooperate? Where are you from? Xiaolang asked angrily. Let me tell you, I'm just a stranger, so of course I'm on the side of truth, Eminem said with his head held high. That's right. It would be better if you could help. In the past 2 days, Thunder card should appear nearby, Sakura said proactively at this time. Thunder card? How do you know? Xiaolang was stunned when he heard this. I dreamed about it, Sakura said with some embarrassment, but then emphasized. Xiaoka said this was a precognitive dream. It will guide me to find the claw card. Predictive dream? Xiaolang couldn't help but frown. It seems that the magic power is very weak. Why do we have precognitive dreams? And can you accurately dream about the appearance of the claw card? Even Sioran's compass can only detect the claw cards that are exerting their abilities within a certain range, and the claw cards that have been resealed into entities. As for the claw cards that were still hidden and ineffective after being scattered, Xiaolang had no way of finding them. In fact, this is not conducive to collecting claw cards, because this is different from the original work. Clocard is not honest and only operates within the scope of a small city point, but in the entire Johto area, even if it is delayed for a long time, it will spread outside the Johto area to search with the compass. You probably want to hear rumors that there is a suspected Clocard causing trouble somewhere, and then rush there immediately. It seems that you don't have time to sense the specific location, so the efficiency is not high. If the Clocard doesn't stay in the same place, it won't be caught at all point at this time. Xiaolang finally understood why Kerubarus asked this little girl to collect Clocards. Did you dream about Thundercard? Xiaolang confirmed to her. It should be Thundercard. In my dream, I saw a thundercloud near the Leixi branch outside the town. Sakura answered honestly. Eminem doesn't know what the ability of predictive dreams is, however, it should sound similar to the original work, and it is not a clear prophecy. Melee. She branch near here? Okay, leave the collection of Clocards to me from now on, and you can be responsible for dreaming. Xiaolang looked like a dragon, and after speaking, he turned and left. What? This guy? Seeing this, Sakura couldn't help but feel a little angry. Your friend is gone. Tomoyo reminded Eminem at this time. Which friend? Eminem said. Long Ocean and I are not familiar with each other. Oh, aren't they the kind of friends who are rivals? Tomoyo looked at Eminem pointedly. Eminem didn't see any joking in her black and white eyes, and her eyes were very calm and indifferent, but Eminem also heard it, and Tomoyo seemed to have recognized herself and Xiaolang. You still paying attention to the Kanto Newcomer competition? Eminem asked curiously. No, I paid attention to you, Tomoyo said matter-of-factly. Slim Shady. Eminem's face suddenly turned red. Could it be that I already have a beauty fan? Sakura walked over at this time and asked Tomoyo in a low voice, more wary than Sioran. Tomoyo, is he the person who smashed up your shopping mall in Quartz City before? Sakura did remember that a while ago, not long after the Clocards were scattered. When she went to the Chishi family, she saw her friend Tomoyo watching the Kanto region's rookie competition, and curiously asked why. Although Tomoyo only said that he was suddenly interested, but Sakura also saw a report about Daidaiji shopping mall in Quartz City on the coffee table at that time. This is the person. Slim Shady. Is this the reason for the concern? Of course, I know Mr. Amu. He had other reasons at the time, and had to do this as a last resort. I'm sorry to bring you a bad shopping experience. I also called you Unzi to apologize. Didn't she mention it to you? Tomoyo said reasonably. It's just that the tone is too formulaic and unreasonable. From the beginning to the end, the only tone Eminem heard from Tomoyo that was not formulaic seemed to be when he was trying to defend Sakura. Well, I also forgive Daoji Mall, hahaha. Eminem laughed dryly, then looked at the two of them wearing similar uniforms, and couldn't help but ask, you are still in school? So collecting Clocards is not easy. It doesn't matter. After our school saw the reforms of Didden High School, it started to encourage travel at the beginning of this semester. Otherwise, Sakura and I wouldn't be here. It's just, we still have to wear uniforms when we occasionally attend online classes. You interested in uniforms? Amu shook his head repeatedly and said, how is that possible? I'm just curious. That means you are interested in Clocards, right? Tomoyo asked. Eminem was about to shake his head just now, but when he saw Tomoyo's eyes, he felt guilty for some reason. If he said not interested, wouldn't even his previous words seem untrustworthy? A little bit. I don't know why, but Eminem always feels that Tomoyo can easily embarrass herself. Chapter 450. Zio-ken. We have to go back to the Pokémon Center first. Will you come with us? Tomoyo asked politely. Huh? You live in the Pokémon Center too? Eminem asked in surprise. Tomoyo heard what Amu was wondering about, so he asked, of course. Sonoko doesn't always stay in luxury hotels wherever he goes, right? But Tomoyo is obviously not as low-key as Sonoko. Although he lives in the Pokémon Center, the reason why he asked Eminem do you want to come together is because, soon, a stretched luxury car parked on the side of the road. In the car at the back, someone came out to open the door for Tomoyo. This is my friend. I'm going to the Pokémon Center on the way. Tomoyo said, acknowledging that Eminem wanted to ride in the car. Eminem doesn't have anything to be embarrassed about. Even though it's the first time he's seen it, generally speaking, when he sees a car like this, he'll retreat in embarrassment. But Eminem is obviously not an ordinary person. Isn't My Little Lightning Bag more noble than a private jet? Just not allowed to ride. Eminem is also planning to call Sonoko after returning to the Pokémon Center and ask her if she doesn't have a good relationship with Tomoyo. Judging from his performance, Tomoyo is also polite and courteous to Eminem, but he always feels alienated by a layer of distance. On the other hand, Sakura, at the beginning, completely regarded Eminem as a dangerous person who demolished the building. But after chatting in the car about the Kanto rookie tournament, what they had seen on the Centino, and what happened to that man just now, Sakura spoke to Eminem carelessly in just a few words, joking and laughing. In the end, Eminem couldn't help but ask, "What you said about the Leixi branch, is it true?" "Of course," Sakura said matter-of-factly, "but why aren't you in a hurry?" Amu became confused. After learning that Sioran was related to Crowrido, it was normal for them to tell him the clues about the Clo card, but why weren't they in a hurry themselves? When Sakura heard this, she showed doubts, while Tomoyo smiled indifferently until he looked at Eminem with embarrassment, and then said, "If Thunder card appears, the weather will definitely change suddenly. Extreme weather alerts will be broadcast when needed. Leixi branch is not open to the public. Of course we are waiting for news in Roytown. After all, the distance is not far. With Sakura's Xiangpei, it doesn't even take 10 minutes. Slim Shady, co-authored by Xiana Lang. Is he young? Soon, the car drove to the Pokémon Center, because Thunder card might appear at the Leixi branch on the outskirts of Wakaba Town at any time. Sakura and Tomoyo hurried back to the Pokémon Center to prepare to change clothes. In order to go to class, the two of them wore school uniforms, which were obviously not suitable for going to the wild, let alone fighting. And Sakura has been using the illustrated book very seriously. At first, Eminem thought she was refreshing something interesting, but later she discovered that she was refreshing emergency weather alerts again and again. When Eminem returned to the room he had opened, he found that Zio AI was still on his portable experimental table, conducting unexplained experiments. When he saw Eminem coming back, he just asked without looking back, "Did you find that Kuro card?" Although she knows that magic really exists, Zio AI is still not interested in it. "No, I just found some clues and met other people who were collecting Clo cards." Amu thought about Sakura and Tomoyo at this time. "I have just added contacts in the illustrated book. I wonder if they would agree if I proposed to borrow Clo cards." It's not that Eminem really wanted the power of the Clo card, but he wanted to see if the Clo card with skills sealed in it, combined with his animal sense, could quickly impart skills to Pokémon. Then seeing Zio AI concentrating on the experiment, Eminem was lying on the bed. He first called Sangzao Town to report to Grandma Rexy and Sister King Mui that he was safe, and then sent a message to Yuanzi using the illustrated book to ask her about Tomoyo. "Didn't you go to Roytown? Meeting Tomoyo so soon?" "Yes, she is in Roytown." "Ah, just wish yourself well. Tomoyo, she is a very ladylike girl." "Well, most of the time." Yuanzi's words made Eminem feel that they had some meaning, but Yuanzi no longer wanted to say more and started to talk about other things. Tomoyo and Sakura returned to the room and also talked about Eminem and Sioran, mainly asking Zyok about their encounter with Sioran today. Little wolf. He claimed to be Crowrido. Ah, I remembered. He should be a descendant of Lord Crowrido's maternal family. Zyok suddenly said. At this time I saw a little nebula lying on the bed, with two tentacles on its head supporting both its head and body like hands. Of course, little nebula is just a common name, and the real name should be Cosmog. Humans have only seen this Pokémon in ancient murals and some legends, because it is the sun god's cable, or Gallia, the predecessor of moon goddess Lunala. The transformation process of mythical beasts is different from ordinary evolution. Most mythical beasts do not evolve, but there are indeed legends about Cosmog eventually transforming into the sun god and the moon god. The Crubalus guarding the seal of the crow card is none other than Sol Gallia, of course, not the god of the sun, and only with the help of Crowlido can he transform into Sol Gallia. Gallia, now without the support of magic power for a long time, has degenerated into the state of Cosmog. So, should I really return the claw card to him? Sakura took out the few cards she had and said honestly, of course not. Master Crowrider said that only the person who opens the sealed book is the one who can put them back into place. It was you who opened the sealed book, and there must be great magic sleeping in you. But I'm good at food. Sakura felt depressed for a moment. At this time, Tomoyo had already taken out Sakura's favorite snack. She had picked it up when she went to Daidaiji shopping mall before as expected. The simple-minded Sakura was immediately remotivated. Then Tomoyo brought the topic to Eminem. That's a very powerful trainer of mythical beasts, right? Experts say that Lightning Bird is probably following him. Sakura said while stuffing something in her mouth. Out of the protection of mythical beast trainers and mythical beasts, as long as the person does not agree, all official channels will not deliberately promote these, so expert analysis is needed. HMPH, it's just a mythical beast. Zyoka said with some amusement. If Corrido is still here, and can use his magic power to reveal his true body, it won't be afraid of the lightning bird. He also wants the claw card. No, I should say, he also wants to use the claw card, and it's very strong. Tomoyo seemed to have thought of something. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.